Anything I can do for you, Jim?
Now that was a silly question.
Just in case, we only talk like once a week, and we're both so busy, we don't always get to connect on email. So, is there anything you need me to do?
Cox. It's alright, cause I'm saved by the it's alright, cause I'm saved by the it's alright, cause I'm saved by the pill.
Thanks for that, Jim. I'm just.
Screech to the dirty Sanchez.
I'm distracted. I'm currently getting sworn at by. Which one's the guy in the Pac-Man shirt in Penny Arcade? Is that Gabe or Tycho?
Gabe.
He's upset at me. Yeah.
Because of the PAX thing.
Yeah. Maybe I'm gonna write to him right now. Maybe we
Did he send
should
you a private
talk
email? Or is he doing it?
before you. Maybe we should meet in real life. Maybe we. What's a good way to say to him that him saying that I'm a liar and an unprofessional and a bad journalist and that he fucking wrote a better story than me that's just not the kind of thing you say to total strangers. He can talk to me if he wants or write me a personal email.
Where's he done this? Where did he do this?
Just right now, seconds ago.
On the Twitter?
Yep, pro or private. Or attacking me in public on Twitter. Sorry about this.
This has started off the podcast in a very upset light. We're off to a bad tone. And I was excited for the show, but
I'm sorry. I'm embroiled.
No, it's gone nasty because of Gabriel from the Penny Arcade.
Yeah, well, he's never seemed like a particularly nice guy to me. I don't know him in person, but all right. Now one more. I'm sorry. Email me at jonathan@destructoid.com if you'd like to discuss this without all the junk that's getting in the way. What do you think, Jim? No, that's not quite right. It's hard to do a podcast and defend yourself against attacks by a guy with like 20 billion Twitter followers who's bullying you because he doesn't like a story you wrote once. It's funny because he claims to hate bullies, but he's clearly acting like one right now. I think. I don't know. What do you think, Jim? Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, well, I mean, for the listeners that don't know what happened, because really Destructoid was the only place that covered what happened. Now, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. But two people were at the centre of some sort of controversy. It wouldn't be PAX without a controversy. But this year, apparently at PAX East, we had Jessica Nedry? Dennis Nedry? I don't know how you pronounce her name. Jessica.
Oh, Jessica Negri.
Negri. Okay. Now she's the lady who is dressed up as Juliet Starling from Lollipop Chainsaw, the full cheerleader type outfit thing. She goes to events like PAX and just does her thing, messes about and hands stuff out and generally promotes the game. She, if I've got this right, turned up on the second day with a pink jumpsuit, with the whole Eva from Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater thing going on. The big zip all the way down to a La Crotch.
Jim, I'm gonna just stop you because I feel bad. I'm having you tell a story about a thing I was just physically doing. It's like if I was like, and then Jim brushed his teeth this
Yeah,
morning.
but
He used, was it
I tell
Crest
many
toothpaste?
stories. I tell many stories about you physically doing things. Many of them even less true than what Gabriel is saying is going on here. So yeah, but
Right. Anywho, yeah. Let me just tell the story real quick.
oh,
Okay. I can do this fast. Um, Friday, PAX East. I was outside. We just did the Destructoid group photo, and I happened to see Keith Apicary, who does not know my name or really anything about me, but I talked to him briefly last year at PAX. It's the only time we've ever talked because he rushed me while I was playing Child of Eden for the first time on stage. Anyway, I was like, Keith, what's up? And he's like, oh, I just got kicked out of PAX. I'm like, what? What happened? And he told me that he had a contract with Robert Koo, who's the business manager of Penny Arcade, and he broke the contract like immediately. And he broke the contract by getting on the stage for Rooster Teeth's panel, because Rooster Teeth, who does funny internet videos, started talking about how much they like Keith's videos and they're funny, and he's like, and he couldn't resist, and he ran up there and started to address the audience, and they were happy to see him. And I think once he got, encouragement from the audience, he started to get carried away, and before he knew it, he had stripped to his underwear and was dancing on a chair. And then, according to Keith, I don't know if he was joking when he said this or not, to be honest. He said that the state police were called to escort him out of the building and that he was now lifetime banned from PAX. Now, I don't, I've actually asked Robert Koo for comment about that, but he's denying me comment, which is ironic because I had asked PAX information booth, could I get Robert Koo's email so I can ask him about this? Because, I didn't want to do just one side of the story, but when they knew what I was talking about, one person said they'd take my information and get back to me. Another person said, don't hold your breath. He's busy at the show. He's not going to want to comment on this thing. Because it wasn't that big of a deal, honestly. Keith didn't think it was a big of a deal. He was joking about it in a video we made. So I didn't expect it to be a huge thing. I just posted the video and said what I had physically witnessed about the Keith thing, and thought it wouldn't turn into a huge kind of fight with Penny Arcade. I never expected that to happen. I mean, No, I didn't think anyone would care at all. I expected the post to get like 12 comments and haha and move on. Where's the real video game news? But it did actually blow up into kind of a big thing. So anyway, that was day one. I hadn't written the post yet. I hadn't posted the video yet with Keith because I was hoping to hear back from somebody at Penny Arcade. But then on day two, I was supposed to film a new episode of Talking to Women About Video Games with Jessica, who is working for WB as a professional cosplayer of Juliet Starling. She's like supposed to do the whole show in character, do the voice of Juliet Starling, like do her jokes, stuff like that. And she's got to wear the Juliet Starling outfit, which is a skimpy cheerleader outfit. Then on day two, just my luck, because I was all excited to interview her. I'd been waiting all day, but she was really busy with WB. They're like, no, we got to change outfits first. So then she leaves and changes outfits to one of the DLC alternate costumes I think you get for a pre-order. It's a pink jumpsuit that's like really just a naked woman. She was just naked, except you can see her nipple details of her.
It's a little bit salty, isn't it?
There's a video that's probably already up on Destructoid right now. I was in the hallway waiting for my battery to charge because she was busy. And then the developer of a upcoming eShop game called Bomb Monkey saw me and showed me Bomb Monkey, and I was all excited. It was a fun game. And then I looked up, and there was Jessica waiting to do the Talking to Women About Video Games with me in that outfit, and it just stopped the entire interview because you can't. It's not even. It has nothing to do with being heterosexual or attracted to her. It's just when a woman who looks like that is wearing that. It's the same as if a person is just going.
Yeah, I mean, if listeners haven't seen the costume, imagine a naked woman, and it's that.
With huge boobs. Like, it's not just that she's a naked woman. It's that her proportions are like, not even a sexual thing. Just like how do people become shaped like that thing? It just doesn't make any sense. Her stomach is like
they're comparable to mine, ostensibly.
And I don't know. Anyway, so long story short, Jessica changed to that outfit. And she was actually telling me right as I was doing the Bomb Monkey thing, doing the thing with Jules Watcham, who's the developer of that game, that she couldn't do the talking to women about video games episode right there because she had to change back to her cheerleader outfit because the pink one was too sexy. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. You weren't wearing that yesterday. Penny Arcade probably didn't clear that outfit. They're in every right to ask you to change your outfit. But then when I went down to do the episode after she changed to the cheerleader outfit, there was like 5 or 6 Penny Arcade staff around there. I think one of them might have been Robert Koo, but I don't know him in real life. There's a guy who looked like his picture on Twitter, and I overheard them talking to the WB saying, you've got to get her off the floor. She can't be dressed like that. And the WB was saying she was dressed like that yesterday, and it wasn't a problem. And it's tough because I like the people at the WB, and out of respect to them, I don't want to pretend to know exactly what their perspective is, but my opinion is they don't want to say anything to piss off Penny Arcade any more than they do because Penny Arcade is a huge resource for them for publicity. So
Sure.
They've been kind of quiet about it. I will give you my opinion. Sitting with the WB and Jessica during that whole event of her getting kicked out of the event, I actually walked with her off the event to the hotel. They were not happy. They felt stepped on. They felt like they were being treated unfairly, hypocritically. And they had no idea what to do with Jessica because her job is to dress as Juliet Starling, and Juliet Starling has like one non-skimpy outfit, which they didn't pack. Actually, being the turbo nerd that I am, I actually offered, I can put together the Ash outfit for you so you can wear something. I've got a blue shirt at home and a little wig, but they didn't go with that. The next day, she just wore a t-shirt, but there were times when I thought she was going to start crying about it. She was pretty broken up, which really, made me feel really badly for her and not so badly for the Penny Arcade people because I couldn't see how they could justify that not being hypocritical. They told her it was okay on Friday, and then it's suddenly not okay on Saturday. When you're planning your entire event around the Suda 51 being there and someone who you've chosen out of hundreds of people. I mean, Jessica's kind of a big deal. They ran that contest, and she's the face of the game, and she's showing up at all the events. To tell her, basically you can't do what you were paid to do. You can't promote the game the way that's proven to work and that you plan to do. It kind of put her out of a job, and I was surprised she even showed up on Sunday. But she did, and she acted like it wasn't a big deal and said it was fine, and I'll just wear this T-shirt. But I don't know her from a hole in the wall. We just met this weekend, but it didn't seem like
that is very sexist.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know her from a hole in a wall. I'll stick my dick in both. That's what that is disgusting. Try to tone down the chauvinism while you're telling this story, Jonathan. So I've not said anything for a while, so I just thought I'd chip in. I'm only joking. I'm just joshing with you, Chief. It's good for morale. Continue.
Thank you. I got confused. I'm reading my Twitter responses now. People want to know about the worst hand job ever on this episode. Some people are saying, I'm going to ask Curtis who he's talking to. Are you talking to me or the rich guy, Curtis? He is rich, the Penny Arcade guy, right?
Fairly rich, as far as I know. I mean, they've made a decent amount of Wonga doing their cartoon thing there. Decent amount.
How long have I been
Do-Re-Mi.
About too long?
I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes, nothing too major. You're all breaking up. You're breaking up.
I'm breaking.
Yeah, how's your connection?
I thought it was great. How am I now?
That's alright.
I sound dumb now?
No, you're alright. Yeah. Let's just put a dampener on the whole. Gabriel just put a cloud.
I said he did commit. Yeah, I'm sorry. The crime, and I was. Oh, my cat's on me now. Everyone's attacking me. When she was asked to did commit the crime, not didn't. Sorry about this. How are you? How was your week?
I'm alright. I didn't do much. Didn't do anything as exciting as lied about Penny Arcade, telling journalists like I know I actually got threatened with libel myself. So we're both in trouble.
Why were you threatened with libel?
This last week I was writing about Kickstarter projects, and in the article I was like, this Leisure Suit Larry one. This game was announced 6 months ago, and now they're asking for money. And I was like, well, it should have already been in development.
Huh?
And then the CEO of Replay Games was like, you are a bad journalist, man. We tried to raise the money with venture capital, but no investors wanted to give us money. So we had no funding, so we're turning to Kickstarter. So there you go. I mean, I have to wonder why a game publisher can't publish games. That was my sort of question. But that was interesting. Even more interesting is I'd already updated the post before he started demanding via comments and emails that I update the post. So there's literally nothing more I can do. I updated the post once it was pointed out that I'd made a mistake, which I copped to. My point about Kickstarters and people using it way too much remains, I feel. But yeah, that was a minor storm in a teacup, really, especially compared to this. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't have the time to fight Penny Arcade's fans. I like Penny Arcade. I like it as a site. Tycho is a sort of something of an inspiration as a writer to myself. I like his way with words, but yeah, I wouldn't want what you're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
I've had enough of that. I'm trying to keep my head down for a little bit. Just trying to. I've had one too many kerfuffles in the past few weeks. Every now and then I feel that with the trouble I get into, it's like a steam pressure cooker, and it just builds up and up and up, and then I have to let the steam out before it explodes. So I'm in steam out mode at the moment. Just been relaxing. I went to the planetarium on Saturday.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Oh, you didn't think? You really would think that a nice trip to the planetarium in Mississippi would be a good idea.
Why not?
That was interesting. I think it speaks volumes to Mississippi's respect for science that in the end credits of the glory, it was essentially just a very poor movie on a ceiling. That's what this planetarium was, and it's very telling, as I say, of Mississippi's regard for science. When in the end credits, you find out the music that was used in it, and also, by extension, the whole thing. I hesitate to call it a show. Was dated to 1993. As it turns out, my wife said when it was finished, this is the exact same thing I saw at this planetarium when I was in school. It literally hasn't changed since the early 90s. They still say Pluto is a planet, so any kids going to that planetarium in Mississippi will be told that Pluto is a planet, when a couple of years ago it's been declassified as one. But children in Mississippi are still going to know. The whole thing was fucking... I mean, when you think of a planetarium, you think, like, oh, I'm going to look up and see all constellations and planets and all this groovy shit, you know? It wasn't that.
Right.
It wasn't that. There were stars every now and then. Mostly it was a glorified slideshow with awful songs, original songs from the 90s playing. At one point there was a song about, oh, we gotta look after the planet. Oh, we gotta look after planet Earth. Well, like, still images of monkeys and old Asian women were flashing up on the ceiling. And it was all themed as some sort of intergalactic radio show with this host who would say things like, oh, well, we've gotta be Martian on. There were jokes. There was a fake advert halfway through for Trekkies Anonymous. Trekkie jokes. It was unbelievable. It was so fucking it was a product of its time, which means it shouldn't be like a paid exhibit now. Truly a product of its time. That whole thing you had in the 90s where it was let's try and sneak education into a child's face by wrapping it up with this kind of pseudo cool attitudinal approach. I kept expecting Carmen fucking Sandiego to show up at any moment and say, "Oh, today I am in Egypt, now learn something about the pharaohs." You know, it was that whole thing. That was very popular in the 90s, where it was like, you know how you put a pill in a bit of cheese to give to a dog? That's what kids' cartoons were. It was entertaining cheese for the pill of education.
Well, that doesn't sound fun for you,
It was fucking
Jim.
god-awful for me.
I'm sorry. Am I breaking up again?
No,
I'm
you're
all
alright.
scared.
You're perfectly fine.
Sometimes I have these technical problems that make me sound bad, and then people afterwards are like, "Didn't you notice you sounded terrible?" But that would sound the same to me. It's hard.
You can't tell.
All right, should I? Woo,
Huh?
woo, what? I'm gonna finish talking about the penny arcade thing, I guess, because I kind of stopped and didn't finish, right?
Oh yeah,
No?
we didn't actually reach any conclusions.
Oh,
I want to
okay,
say
good.
some
Well,
things about it as well. So
well, I'm really interested to get your opinion because, I have been attacked, so that may be clouding my judgment a little bit. I know that the cycle of aggression in animals and in human beings, once you start to have your threat uh, reaction peaked, it doesn't make you think as clearly, because you don't want to, like, when a bear is trying to eat you, you don't want to sit there and think, wow, what's this bear really like? But you got to react without thinking. So people naturally think less when they feel like they're being attacked, and I do feel like I'm being attacked by a guy who, maybe is a great guy. I'm trying not to have that cloud my judgment either. I don't know him. He's done some things that I think are bad, but that doesn't mean that he's bad. It's could be just he was having a bad day that day. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I was already. Maybe I would have been nicer about it if it weren't for the fact that the fact that they had PAX on Easter at the same weekend that Boston Anime Convention was happening already had me feeling like they were a little slimy, because I don't know if you know this, if you rent a convention hall on a major holiday, you don't have to pay as much. The rate isn't as high. And also, if another event is going on, you may not have to pay as much. So they were kind of screwing over the people who wanted to both have a holiday. It was Passover and Easter this weekend, actually, and do PAX. They kind of made them choose in order to get paid less. Then on top of that,
easy choice. Video games are real.
But human families, I'm not religious, or I'm not, I don't subscribe to any one religion, but, I'd like to be able to have gone to Passover with my wife's parents and not had to be a dick. But, I was forced to choose, and I choose doing my Destructoid job over family that time. But anyway, so, that's one strike against them. And then, I don't know if you'd heard, do you remember the Ocean Marketing guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, they like really meanly screwed him over. Like, that whole thing was dead and gone, it was old news, no need to dig that up. They sent him pictures that he could use to fake that he was at PAX in order to, like, brag about it, in order to kind of entrap him in looking like a dick. And to me, that's like if you find out someone, like, just smells terribly, you give them fake deodorant that makes them smell even worse. So of course they're going to put it on because they don't want to smell, and then they stink up the whole place. He's already hated by the entire world. No need to, like, dig that up again. But in order to, like, just make his life worse, they sent him these pictures, and then he fell for the bait, and then said I was at PAX, and then they said publicly on Twitter, hundreds of thousands of people, oh, you're a liar, you're a dick, blah blah blah, and the Gabe is his name, right? He's justifying doing that by saying, well, he threatened me and said racist things to me and my company before, so it's okay for me to just, like, attack him out of nowhere.
Yeah, I can see that's a bit.
I think that's
He's been punished. He was already punished for what he did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's when someone is a real threat to you, you don't invite conflict with them. That's bullies invite conflict. Bullies invite conflict and hurt others because they think they're justified in doing so, even though the person that they're attacking is of no threat to them at all. The ocean marketing guy is no threat to Penny Arcade, but because it felt good for them to hurt someone, they
Yeah.
attacked, and they try to justify it later by saying, "Whoa, well, he's said some mean things to us." But well, no, that's not really how adults work. That's how children work, and at best, mean children. That's basically how I find this guy's acting. And then he's attacking me up and down Twitter too, saying my story was a lie and that I'm a bad journalist and that I did it all to drum up attention. And there's nothing in my story that's a lie. There's one thing that was kind of hard to understand, and I fixed it. It was a bad sentence. I did a joke where I wrote the word didn't and then crossed it out and then wrote did, in that Keith Apicary did the crime that he was accused of doing. But it's always funnier to say didn't, and then yeah, it's a terrible joke. I was writing it at like 1 a.m. That was probably my first mistake. But I acknowledged my mistake and fixed it and made it clear that's what happened as best I could. But they're just not having it. The Robert Koo guy, I asked him for comment. He said he won't comment with me. He's like taking it all personally, and now the Gabe guy is attacking me, and it just strikes me that they still are acting like the kid who is the underdog, and that they've got to defend themselves from people like me and from whoever. But all they're showing is that they're defensive and hypocritical, and I do still disagree with the stuff they did. I really don't think that you have to kick out a guy for stripping down to his underwear. You can do that; that's within right. But I think it sets a tone that PAX isn't a place where people can go, and as long as they're harmless, as long as they're not hurting anybody, you can be yourself. That's what I love about PAX. It's a place people can go, do their cosplay, love video games, and not get made fun of for it, not get ostracized for it. And they're doing the exact opposite of that with their practices, particularly with the Jessica thing. I according to Gabe's post, people might have complained about her outfit, but do you want to give in to those complaints? She was like hurting nobody, and cleavage. Maybe people think cleavage like makes kids bad kids, like horny bad kids or something. I don't think the human body does any harm to children. I mean, if she was like rubbing them and trying to like make out with them, sure. But if she's just standing around in cheerleader outfit,
And I haven't been kicked out of PAX for doing that. Weirdly.
You specified.
Yeah, they've let me do that, make out with kids at PAX. Some of the enforcers like gather around and place bets on how long it'll last.
That's classy.
Yeah.
That's, well, you know.
That was a joke, by the way, in case I get accused of bad journalism and being an evil bastard. And that was that was protected. It's not protected under parody at all, but I'll keep saying it is. That definitely wasn't slander.
Yeah. It definitely wasn't. Yeah, other people were dressed just like Jessica, but they didn't get kicked out. Both presenters and people that were there, attendees, people who paid to go. And I know they have that anti-booth babe rule, but what Jessica was doing was no different than if someone like dressed as Mario and did the "It's a me, I'm Italian," did like the somewhat derogatory Italian stereotype accent and the mustache and everything, and they said, "Oh well, we got complaints that what you're doing is offensive to Italians. You have to leave." You knew going into it that Mario was coming to the show, and if you didn't want him to come, you should have told them before you invited him to the show. They knew what Juliet Starling's shtick was, and they let her do it the first day. But then, just change of heart the second day, just kind of, we can do this even though we're breaking our own rules and changing our story halfway through. But because we can, we'll just exert our power and kick this person out of the show that they traveled, hundreds of miles to go to do a specific job that they were excited about doing. it's hard to think positively about these penny arcade guys right now, Jim. I think that's everything I have to say about it. I'd love to get your opinion though. Let me know if I'm being overly venomous or my judgment's clouded because I'm sad about their jerkiness.
Yeah.
Let me know.
You could never be venomous.
Oh yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
You're a
thanks.
lovely
Thanks.
little boy. It's a naughty one. This is one of those times where I am a very useless fence sitter because I can really see both sides of every argument that I read the entire thread
Oh,
followed your original post on the matter. I say, well,
the
not
comment
original.
stuff.
Yeah, all the comments I read through them.
I
So I was
didn't
very
see any of
interested.
them. Oh yeah,
I was
okay. Well, tell me
intrigued
about.
by the discussion. It's weird. I mean, addressing Keith Apicary first.
Hmm.
Now, I might be a bit biased because I don't get him at all. I I'm sure he's a lovely guy. I respect what he's done. I can see, I can see how people have fun with him, but I don't quite get it.
Mm.
And those times when I have been in the room with him, I found him quite disruptive
Oh.
and not in an amusing way.
So you were not amused by Keith.
Yeah, I'm
Was
not amused by him. If it were my panel, I wouldn't be amused. Um,
right. I've reached out to Rooster Teeth actually to see if they want to comment on it. I haven't heard back from them yet. I'm guessing they won't though, because unless they have something to say that's going to back up Penny Arcade, they're just going to get Penny Arcade mad at them. And as I've found, if you do something that Penny Arcade doesn't like, they don't have any problem with trying to hurt you. So if I were Rooster Teeth, I probably wouldn't say a thing about it. What's in it for them to comment at this point?
yeah, I mean, like I said, we don't know whether they were up for it or not. According to
Yeah.
Keith, apparently it sounds like they were. I mean, the thing is, he signed a piece of paper that said he wouldn't do shit like that, and he did shit like that. And in that case, I would say the burden's on his side there. You
He
know,
didn't say if you in the video, he didn't say for even an instant, I shouldn't have been kicked out. He apologized to Robert Koo in the video. He said, I signed the contract and then I completely broke it. I got kicked out and now I'll think of something else to do. So he owned that right away. And I also said, yeah, Penny Arcade was within their right to do whatever they want at their show. And that's true of the situation with Jessica, too. It's in their right. I just think it's a bad move. I think it makes them. It sets a tone of PAX is a place where we can suddenly eject people just because we don't like what they're doing, even if they didn't technically hurt anybody. If Rooster Teeth said this guy stormed our stage and you need to get him out of here, that would be another thing. That would be protecting Rooster Teeth, which is fair.
Roosters teach. That sounds like a great cartoon series where chickens
Rooster
tell
Teeth.
you maths.
You're all in this world of kids getting taught things packaged in Rooster Teach in the planetarium. That's a
Yep.
sad world to be in,
Well,
Jim.
I am literally in hell. I can actually write in bleeding words, help me, on the walls of hospital patients so that they know I am in hell. That was a really awkward Hellraiser 2 reference that
Oh, it was very good.
didn't make sense in any context, even if
The
you
Hellraiser fans, it did. Oof, they know
only if
exactly.
you're watching Hellraiser and that particular scene is on at that moment. We are talking
I think
about
you'll be
Hellraiser
surprised.
2 Hellbound. Uh,
People remember that movie very well. It's a disappointment, but it is an interesting disappointment, I think. And people may just catch that reference. But anyway, you were saying, Keith, sounds like
so
you
yeah, Keith,
not.
I can't say I've got too much sympathy for him, and it sounds like he's, not looking for it.
No,
That's fair
it's not.
enough. He seems to have been quite classy about it. Like I said, I'm sure he's a great guy. I love that he is so popular doing his thing.
Yeah.
Um, I just don't. It's not for me personally. So yeah, as far as the Jessica thing goes, now that really is. I can see both sides of it. It's like, okay, they got this no booth babe thing. I get it. I get what the sort of classy thing they're trying to do. But, you know, if you're going to be that strict and have that policy, I do agree that they should be checking this stuff out and okaying it before the show goes live and before the publishers commit. You know, if Penny Arcade and you know the people running PAX didn't know what Jessica was going to be wearing, that does sound to me like something they should, you know. They should be aware of and need to okay.
And all the other presenters, the paintball army people, were wearing even more scantily clad outfit than Jessica. There's tons of other booth babes. I don't think of Jessica that way because she's cosplaying. She's not, you know, dressing that way just to be eye-catching and to show off her body. She's dressing that way because she's depicting a character that people want to see, who also happens to just have huge boobs. It's a fine line, but I see a difference there.
Yeah. I was talking to Alex about it, and she's got a rather, you know, because she is very into the feminism type of malarkey, you know.
Sure.
I say malarkey, that sounded really dismissive. Feminism thing, you know.
Yeah, your wife, Alex, as opposed to your, I don't know, your broker. Do you have a banker?
She actually does serve as my accountant as well.
Oh, she does?
Yeah.
Okay.
She stops me spending literally all my money on alien toys. She manages all the accounts because she's just like 10 million times better at money than I am. And because I literally would spend all of my money on alien stuff. But anyway, she had, you know, a viewpoint on it that was actually pro Jessica. Rather than, you know, cover them up, because in her mind, and I find myself agreeing, to tell the women to cover up is very old-fashioned and puts the blame on the women.
Yeah.
Rather than the men doing the ogling, you know?
Right.
It kind of... It's that old sort of patriarchal attitude that...
Well, it's men controlling what women do, and that's the opposite of feminism, from what I can tell. And it was all guys who were saying she had to cover up when the huge Penny Arcade crowd around her happened. That was really tense. They were like begging, can she just stay on the floor for a second to do this video? We booked an interview. It was supposed to be at the bus. It's a video interview. And they were like, nope. Out, get out, go to the lobby.
Sounds like it was pretty disruptive, and
it screwed up their appointments. Yeah. It screwed up my appointment with her. It screwed up other people's video appointments with her. They really dismissed the needs of their presenter, who is there to make their show fun. I mean, without people like the WB presenting that stuff, the show wouldn't have been fun at all. It would just be, you know, a bunch of panels, I guess, which is fine too. But I think it's great to respect the audience of the people that are attending the show, but you have to respect the people that are there making the show a show at the same time. And I wasn't seeing much of that.
Yeah. And I mean, on the flip side, I can see the other side of it. You know, they do have this policy, and you can argue she was a cosplayer, but at the same time, she was there to promote the game. She was a bought and paid for employee. And
you're right. They have their policy, but it's a bad policy to say we are only going to let people dress a certain way who present there. Now, if you show up at the show, you can wear whatever you want. So it's not like an anti-nudity policy or anti-underwear policy. You know, our own Mr. Destructoid model was this incredibly fit man in his underwear walking around the show for a lot of the time. I think you can have a policy against like groping people that you don't know. I would love for there to be a policy where you can't like put your arm around a booth babe and pose with them, because it's gross, and it's potentially putting the woman in a terrible situation.
I feel like a monster for being near a booth babe. I feel like a monster. I'm like, this shouldn't be happening. But the thing is, when I see those, you know, the no booth babe rules, I feel like that's put in place to protect the men from that type of thing at the expense of the women, which it seems kind of wrong. It's, I think the booth babes should be allowed, but it should be the men who are constantly reminded they are monsters. I think the booth babes should be allowed to, like, point at any man who looks at them and say, "You're disgusting, and you've probably got an erection, you fucking pervert." And then the man is quite rightly shamed and walks away, feeling like the shit he is.
That's an excellent say, yes.
But, I'm being flippant, but it does seem very Victorian to put the responsibility on the shoulders of the women all the time, to control themselves, rather than, or let themselves be controlled, rather than, the men do change their attitudes, Yeah. But again, I also see the point about, on the other side, women being used as glorified prostitutes to sell products. It's such a complex issue, and there are going to be people who fall on one side and believe they're siding with the women, and people on the other side who are siding with the women.
I know.
It is, and it's impossible. It frustrates me because I really, don't know.
Well, there's only one way to side with the women. There's only one way to do it. I learned this in feminist philosophy class back in Tufts University when I was in my early 20s, yeah. The only way to side with the women is to ask the individual woman, "What do you want?" And then if she says, "I want to do this," then you say, "Well, I'm siding with you on that then." You can't side with all women, because that's treating all women like they're the same thing, which is discriminating and generalizing. You have to treat everyone as an individual and ask them what they want. I think that's the only way to go. And in this case...
Sir, you shame me with that eloquent response. That is...
I learned it in class. I can take no credit. I learned it from a woman.
I have this conversation because, Alex likes to do a lot of debating, especially with people from the South, because that's where we're from. Where she's from and where I moved to like an idiot, like a chump. And, she'll talk to me about some of the arguments she's had about abortion, and she'll always say, "And then he said," and I'm like, "So he said," and instantly in my mind I feel like wanting to take this guy with his opinions on abortion and ruffle his hair and say, "He's so precious! He's got opinions on abortion! Oh, he's so precious!" And I upset some people because I did a little flowchart with that. Like, you've got opinions about abortion. Are you a man? Yes or no? And then it just goes to no, proceed, yes, oh, him so adorable. Not that I'm saying men can't have opinions on abortion. Men can have opinions, they've just got to recognise that their opinions are literally darling, So, I totally agree. When it comes to this whole booth babe thing, I think it is down to the ladies themselves as individuals. What do you want to do? Juliet's cosplayer, Jessica, seems to love what she's doing. She seems to really enjoy it.
For years. And, she makes a point to... some people don't like her cosplay because it's too risque. Fair, you don't have to like it, but to say she's not allowed to do it because of that is... I just think it's rotten. They're in their rights to do it, but it's a rotten thing to do within their rights. It's in my right to, just smell, but I try not to do it. It's just not good for people. You can't arrest me for it. You can't say it's wrong, but thanks for laughing at that joke there. And there's one other thing I want to say about the whole thing that
Talking about smelling, I swear my testicles smell like prawn crackers. I swear it.
A lot of things that should smell bad end up smelling like corn chips. Like my cat's paws smell like corn chips, and I know it's probably because that's urine, but it smells like corn chips urine. So I'm like, it's fine. Put the paws on my face. I'll just pretend it's corn chips. I hear that a lot. I have a friend whose dog's farts smell like corn chips, and they're just like, it's fine. Let them fart on us. It's corn chips. Sorry for that digression there. There's one other thing I wanted to say, I think this is the last thing. It annoys me. I'm annoyed with these Penny Arcade people. They were acting like victimized that I did not ask them for comment. And then I did ask them. I already did ask them for comment, but then I got the guy's Twitter and asked him directly, comment then? And he wouldn't give me a comment. And
Yeah.
he was acting like that was bad journalism. When, first of all, I'm not a journalist. I don't claim to be. We've talked about this last week. I'm a blogger, just as Penny Arcade is a blogger. They have a blog. We have a blog. My voice is smaller than theirs. You know, when you're a journalist and you're getting a comment from someone about a story, it's implied that you have a big voice because you're the journalist, and the person you're getting a comment from, you know, the guy down the street, he doesn't have as big a voice as you. So it's your responsibility to get his comment and give him a voice regarding the situation, or else he won't be able to say anything at all. Penny Arcade does not have a smaller voice than I do. They could have released a comment that day that millions of people would have read, whereas my little blog on Destructoid, you know, not to compare, but you know, Penny Arcade is massive, and we're doing all right. We're not as big as them though. So for them to play victim, like I hurt them in some way by not getting the comment right away somehow, even though they wouldn't give it to me when I asked. But you know, not waiting until I got comment from them, which would have never happened. That was one thing people said. Oh, you should have waited until they gave comment. They would have never given a comment because there was nothing in it for them to do that. And the only reason they talked about it at all is because I did the story. And now that they are talking about it, much more people are reading their story than mine because they're huge, and we're like Mr. Idaho. You know, you've seen him?
No.
He looks good. He looks good, but he's not Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Ah.
You know, Schwarzenegger is hot.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah, I know.
He looks like
hot.
boiled leather now.
Do you have any comment on that part of it, Jim? Do you think that again, stop me if I'm wrong, do the Penny Arcade guys have a point that I somehow did them wrong by running the story before I was assuming I was ever able to get comment from them?
That's always used. That whole, I was never asked for a comment, or you should have asked, or you should have waited. From people that when you ask them for a comment, they won't say anything. Anyway,
Yeah, they won't say anything still.
You know, I've been in situations where I've asked for comments, gotten nothing, went ahead with my story, and then they choose to speak up once they realise that, you know, they can't just ignore something. So yeah, it's a bit of a weak one, really. You did your job, as far as I can tell. You got Keith and Jessica's side of the story. You couldn't get theirs. You did your job perfectly fine, as far as I can tell. You know, you did a nice interview with Keith. He was not nasty in any way.
Well, that's the thing of it. They're acting like I called them names and called them out. The whole tone of the post was like, I thought it was funny. I thought Keith was funny. It's the funniest I've ever seen him be, because he's acting like, you know, there's this serious thing going on when the whole thing is ridiculous. It's PAX East 2012. It's not the Rodney King hearing, you know, and in my post I was acting like we need to start an activist group to help them, which is a joke because, you know, it's PAX East. It's not a big deal. It's the more that's gone on, the more serious I've gotten about it, but I just took it as a little insignificant, slightly funny, interesting thing with a little bit of criticism of Penny Arcade's decision making, but nothing heavy. But now people are swearing at each other and calling each other bad human beings, and we've never even met. Maybe I should just blame the internet. Maybe the Penny Arcade guys are fantastic, and the internet is just a bad way to communicate with strangers. Maybe that's it.
Internet drama.
Yeah,
happens
exactly
all the time.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh, I just went to the planetarium.
You're reviewing Fez now too. How's that going?
Reviewed Fez? That's
You reviewed it?
That's all.
Is the review up now?
That's a done deal, sir. That will be available Wednesday morning.
Oh, well, right now it's Tuesday, so.
Right now as we record, it's Tuesday. Late night listeners, it'll be Tuesday. Those getting to this on the Wednesday, it'll already be up, mate. So make sure you check it out. Fez. I'm a bit annoyed, actually, because Fez is... Oh, I can't really talk about that.
Oh, come on, what?
Well, technically this will go up before the embargo's up, so I can't say...
The embargo is the 11th, so as long as you don't post this...
I'm just saying we've got too many scores in a row, review scores in a row, that are the same thing. And this is going to be it as well. And that, I hate it when that happens, because then you get accused of, someone will comment and say, literally all of your scores are exactly the same forever. As someone once did, like when we had, like, I don't know, 3 8.5 scores in 1 week, it was, all of your scores are always 8.5 because people can't see the wood for the fucking trees.
Well, yeah.
So
I don't blame them for thinking that for a second, but they've got to understand that we're attracted to games, and big profile games are often great.
Well, the trouble is, it's law of averages. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Statistically, you'll get similar scores in a similar time frame. I just need to hurry up and get on with my review of Spirit Camera, because I know as sure as fuck that's not going to have a score anywhere close to the region of Thez's. So that's interesting. But Thez, I can talk a little bit about it. Can't go into specifics at the moment, but had a great fucking time. Had a great time. And I can talk about the soundtrack especially, because that's up on Spotify right now. Mm-hmm. God, that music is fucking good. Really nice. It was done by Disaster Piece. A fantastic soundtrack. If anything, that game should be recognised for that. Between that and just the really sort of cute character design and really clever level design, it's a damn good game. I think, a lot of people are going to like it.
I can't wait. I've got the code. I just haven't had a chance to play it because I'm editing all those videos all night. They're all time sensitive. I've got 10 more videos to try to get done.
Oh, you got really loud as you did that.
Oh.
As you went...
I'm sorry, Podtoid listeners. I feel terrible about the technical thing.
You're still really loud.
I don't know why.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
How is it now?
Oh, you're like a church mouse.
Am I okay now?
It's all nice now.
I aimed the microphone at my eye, hoping that the sound will bounce off whatever it was bouncing off before into my eye
still really
and make
loud.
it sound. There's no reason for that. I've done nothing different. All my settings are set.
It was really nice last week.
I'll whisper. How's this? Am I alright now? Hi, Jim. No?
What's your setup? What's your headset like? Is it like
it's a little
bendy wire microphone?
There's some bendy wires.
Point the bendy wire like just away from your face, just like point it at the wall.
It's pointed at my eye now. How's it now? That's pointed at my bald spots.
Oh God, that'll have to do.
Is that any better? How's that?
It's still weird.
The microphone is so far away from my face. I don't know if I failed to talk properly there.
It just sounds strange.
Yeah, now I just sound like a bad person. Can't talk good. How's it now?
Now?
It is
now I'm
so far away from me.
Yeah, now I'm just getting background noise.
Now it's off my head. Now?
Huh?
How's now?
That's fucking fantastic.
This is the best podcast ever. We just said now, 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 for about 2 minutes. All right, I'm just going to leave it like this and hope for the best.
Okay.
I'm sorry, guys.
So
I tried hard to fix it, but it's taking too long.
So we put everyone in a bad mood by talking about how Penny Arcade hates you for an hour.
Yeah. Was that long? It was, wasn't it?
Almost. Yeah. And then we just spent like the past few minutes just going. This is going to be one of those downtime episodes, I think. One of those ones where we say it's not that funny. Oh, well. Someone said our humor is forced.
Forced?
Yeah.
No.
Which I found funny because, like, literally it's just how I talk and how you talk. And then we just talk.
I would love to force myself to be funny, but I can't. I just have a brain like this, and our dynamic is such that this is how I talk when I'm hanging out with you. Yeah.
I'm more
forced
surprised.
Comedy, isn't that?
I'm more surprised they said it was humor rather than forced. Like, they said it was forced, but he did say humor, which is a definite plus.
Right. I have found that when you do something people just don't like, instead of saying, I don't like that, they try to explain to you why they don't like it, but they actually are wrong. They're telling you that they don't like it because you forced it or you tried too
You
hard
did
or something.
something objectively wrong.
Right, but when in fact they just don't think you're funny, which is great. Don't think I'm funny. I don't mind at all. Definitely don't listen to the show anymore though, because
Actually, to be fair, it was a positive review. He just found.
oh yeah,
He just said
huh.
that the humor can be a little forced sometimes, and I just found that funny, just because I like to reiterate that there's no plans with Podtoid. It's the only bit that's ever planned is me just deciding what stupid 90s theme tune I'm going to sing at Jonathan, and possibly Willem
Speaking of
Dafoe.
plans, oh sorry about. Oh yeah, you have one for this week. Speaking of plans, I hung around with Max Scoville this weekend. He says hi to everyone on Podtoid, that he misses you very much. And he would want to try to be on the 200th episode, but it depends on when we schedule it. He doesn't think he can do the regular time, but if we move around the time just for that 1 week, he says he can do it, and I haven't written Tara an email yet, but I'll ask her too, because it would be nice to have them back on, I think. It would be great, actually. I'd be happy with that. They're fun. They're funny and nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's try to do that. Yeah. Do you want to hear about all the games I played at PAX
I'm thinking as well, maybe do a relay Podtoid. See how much of the old crew I can get together and bring people in and out and do a relay race Podtoid. Nothing definite. Don't get too excited, ladies and gentlemen. It's just an idea I'm formulating. I'll have a word with some people, see who is up for it.
Are you still doing the Electric Hydra with like almost all of the Podtoid before this?
Technically, I'm still a part of the cast. I haven't done it in months. I just haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday is like the only day I get off. Well, Saturday and Sunday, and even Sunday I don't really get off because that whole morning spent doing Jumquisition stuff. So I.
Oh, right.
Yeah, just I need some time to just not do fucking anything.
Yeah, no kidding. I hear you. Do you want to hear about the trends at PAX East? I'll tell you about the trends.
Yeah, tell me about the. I want to know all about it. I got really excited that you were back home from PAX.
I saw that.
Yeah, I don't live with you,
No,
so I think it might be a bit unusual. But it was Monday. I woke up and I just thought, Jonathan Holmes is back from PAX. I'm so excited. What shall I get in? And then I cooked you a big dinner, which you didn't eat.
I didn't know about it.
That bit was a salty lie, a bit of ribaldry.
I wish. There was almost a sandwich that was poison that I ate, but I was too lazy to eat it because I just didn't want to move. I was so tired. And it's a good thing, because if I had eaten it, I would have vomited, I was told. Yeah, what a weird PAX it was. This is my first post-Podtoid PAX. So I found out there are people who listen to me but don't really know that much about anything else that I do, but know what I look like enough to like be really excited about Podtoid.
I saw some videos.
Yeah. There's a beautiful young man and his lovely girlfriend, Will and Jessalyn, and they came to a party that we had, and then after the party, they just immediately started asking me a pedophilia question. And then it was so great to me anyway that I actually asked to film it. So I said, stop your question. We'll set this up a little bit, but it'll be mostly real. Don't tell me the rest of the question. Just walk up to me and start over, and we'll get this for posterity because this is too good. And it was so awkward. She's just staring at me being like, is it when the old man comes out of the dark van with a little boy? Is it? Tell me what it is. Just like the innocence of like a beautiful woman just wanting to talk to you about pedophilia is such a funny,
and that's
creepy
it. I mean,
time.
It really was astonishing to see. They're beautiful people. Nice looking
really
man,
attractive,
lovely looking
funny
lady, beautiful people
Yeah.
asking you pedophilia questions because of something I thought would be funny like months ago. It's
Yeah, it was happening a lot.
Our shit is going in beautiful ears.
I know, and they seem to be very amused.
Yeah.
They may be laughing at us for all I know, but there was a genuine affection. A lot of strangers were just hugging me. and telling me that, I just made their day, and it is I think I made them uncomfortable a little bit because they expected me to be like, oh, that's great, and instead I was just like, yeah, tell me more. Like, I got so much positive energy from them being so nice to me that I'd end up talking to them for like 20 minutes.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's
yeah.
Whenever someone's done that, because I've been to PAX a few times, and I've had people. I had one guy, I think I said once, came up to me and was like, "Am I? What was it? Am I hallucinating, or are you Jim Sterling?" Which to me was weird because I don't think I've ever, unless I've been really seriously ill, I don't hallucinate regularly, and I'm here, so it's such a normal occurrence. And then for someone to act as if me existing is so weird was humbling and strange, and something I'm grateful for. There's some people, I think some people might consider that a little sad, to be grateful that someone recognized you. But I think
it's wonderful.
I think you should be. I think as soon as you lose gratitude for someone knowing who you are and acknowledging that you're there and they're happy to see you, like, that's the moment you become an asshole. So I always try and maintain a level of gratitude for anyone who feels I'm, vaguely noteworthy enough to strike up a conversation with. And yeah, you were telling me, because when you handed over the Fez code for review, because you were obviously away, you mentioned how people have been recognizing you and talking about Podtoid, and yeah, it's amazing to think about. Really.
Yeah, it's probably the only place it'll happen is events like that, which is fine because it would get weird if I was like Tom Cruise, but you really do feel like someone who was on Saved by the Bell once when you're on at PAX. You're like, I'm almost a little bit famous to some people who really like that one episode a lot. And that's a great feeling. I'm very grateful to people that are willing to take the risk. Because it's uncomfortable. A lot of other people said, "Oh, I saw you, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want you to like think I was a loser." Like, no, don't worry about taking that risk. If you're nice, I'm always going to like you. And people were really, really nice at the show.
Yeah,
so
that was awkward. I've had that before. I went to
a
Destructoid party and people just stared. And I felt like I'd taken the biggest shit and was carrying it around in my hand. And then I found out later that people just weren't drunk enough to come over and say hello, and they didn't want to bother me. And I'm like, bother me, please. I'm bored 90% of the day, and I just hear demons cackling in my brain. So any distraction from that would be appreciated. So yeah, please, if you ever see myself or Jonathan Holmes, say hello to us. And
absolutely.
Make sure Jonathan Holmes gets all of your questions about pedophilia, because he loves answering them. He loves that. He loves you confessing, like anything you've done.
No, I don't.
He loves having that burden on his shoulders. If you have killed a child, don't tell me. I'd be horrible. I'd feel horrible taking that to the grave with me. It would scar me for life. But Holmes loves that. Recreationally, he loves carrying the guilt of others in his stained soul. So please, that should be a new thing. That should be a new thing.
Yeah.
Every time you see Jonathan Holmes at an event, just confess a crime. The closer to an H.P. Lovecraft story, the better.
Yeah, wow, that is an innovative new way to make my life a little worse.
I don't think your life's worse. I don't think your life's worse. I give your life in like an experience-like quality, like Journey. Or
it is a journey.
It is like
True.
Journey or Braid.
It's exactly like Braid.
Yeah.
To have strangers come up to you and be like, I touched him first, and then I put a knife to his throat, and I slit the throat. And I'll show you where the body's buried. That's exactly like Journey.
Oh, God. If you know where the bodies are buried, please give Holmes a map that you've drawn yourself in blood.
And tell me if, you know...
Yeah, menstrual blood.
reveal it. And that you'll kill me too if I go to the authorities. That's always a good feeling.
Oh, you've got to make sure that there's no way Holmes can safely alleviate the guilt by giving it to the police or anything. Make sure you threaten him and let him know that. Anyway, Jonathan, when are we going into space?
We've been to space. You mean you and I, or the human race? Because the human race has been.
I mean, you and I to outer. When are we going to the moon? Because we've been doing this show for close to a year now together. Yeah. We've done many episodes. We've talked about many things, but we have never ever discussed plans to go to the moon.
That's true. We never have. We can't go.
There's something wrong with that. You'd think, but I've got a pitch for the president that I need you to go and deliver to President Obama of the United States of America.
Yes.
Right?
Barack Hussein Obama, yes.
I've been looking at the moon, right? I was thinking about this last night.
Yeah?
I reckon it's full of milk. Seriously.
How do you just reckon? Okay, yeah. Okay, you reckon it.
Right. Yeah. Have you've seen the moon, right?
I've seen, yes.
Right? Now you're telling me you would be surprised if someone went up there with a giant corkscrew, made a hole in it, and milk came out of it. You're telling me that would shock you?
I'm saying that. Yes, I'm saying my whole world would be turned upside down. Everything I thought that I knew to be certain would be destroyed, and all of reality would become sort of a garbled mess of incomprehensible nonsense that I would never trust to be certain. Yes.
Don't be remedial. It's obviously full of milk. The moon. I've been looking at the moon, and I'm like, if that's not a giant coconut, I will be very surprised. It just looks. I mean, you look at it; it's so milky already. It just looks like a big, hard ball
that has milk
with a layer of flesh inside, which is also probably delicious and would go great in a chocolate bar, right? And inside is just juicy, thick, really thick milk, moon milk.
So every time you see something that looks like a hard ball, you think that it's got flesh and then milk inside of it, or just the moon?
I'll tell you what, Jonathan, I got a couple of hard balls that look like they're full of milk and flesh.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course.
Only joking. They're quite malleable. They're not hard.
Oh, your testicles?
Yeah. Don't worry, listeners. I'm not an ent.
They have hard balls. Then.
Quite a good.
They're tree people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Tree balls.
Quite good, wasn't it? But anyway, right? I'm a bit annoyed that we haven't discussed going to the moon. And
we can't go.
Drilling precious milk.
Obama will not. Coke Obama will not send us to. There's training. There's money. There's background checks. I don't think Coke Obama wants his new astronauts, who are public figures, to be known as the guys who talk about pedophilia every week on a video game podcast, who got in a bad journalism fight with the Penny Arcade guys and were accused of slander by... You can't say who accused you of slander then, right? Because that would be slander.
No, it's a matter of public record.
Oh, it's just a known.
The guy from Replay.
Oh. I thought it was Konami for some reason.
No. Everything I've said about Konami is 100% true.
Yeah, they haven't argued.
Their silence acknowledges it.
Yeah, you say all that about... See, that's the thing with not to keep harping on the Penny Arcade thing, but I think I'm used to companies taking non-personal criticism and responding to it, or not saying anything about it, or actually, just issuing their own statement to try to make themselves look good. I'm not used to getting personally attacked for my opinion by anyone other than angry commenters. That's why I guess I'm pretty surprised about the whole Penny Arcade thing. There's a way that we can all come out friends and happy from this, right, Jim? I want to go to their show again. I'd be sad. I kind of think they're just going to ban me now, like they ban everyone else that they don't like.
Well, this is a problem, because at PAX Prime, I want to do a live Podtoid. And the trouble is
I'd have to do it all day.
I oversaw a panel where we trod cake so hard and deep into a carpet, it ruined all the panels for that day, and they had to dig it up. And
yeah, people are mad at us about that.
You know, you've accusingly, allegedly libeled the entire show's organisers.
I did. I just said I didn't agree with what they did in a very, what I thought, silly way, but they took it differently, I guess.
There'll be no PAX for you and I, my friend.
Probably not. It's it's not really like an event anymore. It's just like a party with a guy who may just kick you out if other people don't like you at the party.
Who knows? But I'll tell you what. We can save all the time spent going to PAX, right?
Yeah.
Go to the moon. Right? I've thought all about the logistics of this.
How are we going to get to the moon, Jim?
I've already thought about it. It's so easy, right? You know how there are spaceships?
Yes.
Right, you know how there are rocket ships?
Mm-hmm.
Right, what's the theme there? Ship.
Yes.
Right? And what do people who don't have ships but want to go across the water do?
They get a canoe?
And they build a raft.
Oh, a raft. You want to do a space raft.
Right? Get several planks of wood. I'd probably need about 10. 10 planks of wood, right? Tie them together using vines or horsehair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then on each corner of the raft, put fireworks on it. Like, just stake them into the ground, into the wood. And then we sit in the middle, light the fireworks. Just make sure, it's nighttime, so that we can see the moon, and then steer the raft towards the moon. When the fireworks invariably take us up there.
All the way.
Yeah.
To the moon. We will die. We will, at best, be very badly hurt.
Oh, no. I've thought about that as well. Because I know what you're going to say, right? You're going to say, yeah, the space raft makes sense. We light the fireworks. It'll definitely get us at least out of the atmosphere. And then we can row the rest of the way once we're in space. Oh, you don't forget you're going to need to buy some oars. Because
are we going to row?
Because I'm not stupid. I know the fireworks aren't going to take us all the way to the moon. The fireworks are just to get us out of Earth's atmosphere. And then we're going to row the rest of the way.
What are we wearing at this point?
That's it. That you thought I hadn't thought of that.
I was wondering, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We get 2 fish tanks and stick them on our heads for atmosphere.
Fish tanks or fish bowls, like a helmet, or just a whole tank? A whole...
I was thinking fish bowls, but a fish bowl will be too small for us to get our heads in. Right. I mean, I've thought about this. We get the big fish tanks, like what you keep fish in. And
like a big 3-foot by 2-foot tank.
Yeah. Now that's going to be risky because I can't afford a fish tank, and Lord knows, I'm sure you can't either. We're going to have to break into a pet store, and this is why we need Obama's support so that we can get a certificate that gives us legal right to commandeer 2 fish tanks. So we're armed with our certificates. We go into a fish a pet store. We say, give them the certificate, so right here, Coco Obama says that we can have whatever we want. We tip the fish tanks upside down, get all the fish out and all the water.
Where are the fish? Dump them out just on the floor?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just time to die, fish. We're going to space. Sorry. The moon awaits. Is that what you're... Yeah, okay. We're killing ourselves and... relatively boring, but still worthy of life, fish.
Think of how many lives we'll save. Right? How many cows die each year so that we can have milk?
None.
Right? No,
Maybe,
that's
maybe
not true. That's not true. They kill the cows.
Die.
They kill the cows, cut the udders off, put the udders in a microwave until it gets hot and forms a carton, and then they put that in the store. Everyone.
So a milk carton is just a microwaved, like an irradiated cow udder that just takes, just transforms,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Like, when you put a potato chip packet in the oven and it goes all hard and small, and then you can stick a keyring on it, and then you've got a keyring in the shape of a small packet of chips.
I've never done that. That sounds great, though.
No. Oh, it was all the rage when I was a kid. It goes all weird and leathery. It's pretty fascinating.
Oh.
I'm not.
Is this the bag or just the chips themselves?
Not the chips, the empty bag. That's what we used to do when I was a kid. It's possibly dangerous. I'm not advocating people try it. It is.
Well, yeah, isn't it a reflective surface? It's in the aluminum bag, like a plastic.
Well, you don't put it in the microwave. You put it in the oven.
Oh, sorry, I mixed it up.
You bake the plastic and it goes weird and leathery. It's the same principle. Udder's not reflective, so it can go in the microwave. With the milk still in it, obviously. Then you just microwave that. It goes hard and square. And then you just draw in marker pen milk on it. Milk, Walmart. And then you just put it on the shelf in Walmart, and then you've got tasty, delicious milk to go on your cornflakes. So anyway, we'll be saving lives there. Then there are the people too poor to afford milk, right? There will be enough milk on the moon to make the strongest bones in Africa because of delicious calcium.
Why'd you pick Africa? Just because?
Because poor
bones? Because poor bones.
Famine. We're going to go up to...
Famine.
You're going to get moon milk, and I've already come up with a name for it, Daddy's Moon Milk. We'll go
Who's
to Africa.
Daddy?
It's just what they say, right? We'll go over to Africa and we'll say, here you go, kids. Suck on Daddy's moon milk. Suck down Daddy's moon milk. And then they'll eat delicious moon milk. So that's what we'll do. Anyway, you're getting me off topic. We're going to...
I'm getting you off topic?
Yeah.
What's the topic?
Right,
the topic is how we're going to space or why or
the
moon,
why.
I mean.
You know why. Moon milk.
I don't.
You know
why us? Why of...
You know how? Space run. Right? Anyway, we're in the pet shop. We've tipped the fish tank over so that just empty it, get all of the fish and little plastic castles out of it. Right? Put them on our heads. Now, I know what you're thinking. Cold in space. Get a cardigan. So, we're sat in our raft, fish tanks on our head so that we can breathe, cardigans on so it is not so chilly and nippy. Light the rockets, woof, up in the air. We go through Earth's atmosphere, take up oars, men, row, 1, 2, row, 1, 2, row.
There's oarsmen or just you and me?
Just us, but we'll be doing the oarsman's chant. Because we got to synchronise it, otherwise we'll end up going to Venus and we'll look like a pair of pricks. So,
are we wearing anything other than giant, heavy fish tanks?
No, like I said, the cardigans, nothing else.
No, I was assuming there was a wetsuit that was secured to the fish tank in order to keep air from escaping. Okay.
That would be too much of a risk. We'll wear cardigans to keep us warm, but we can't have anything on underneath. And we can't have anything on below. Like, no trousers, no pants, no underwear, no socks.
Wow.
Because obviously, you've seen pictures of stars, right? And you know how pointy they got 5 points, and they can snag on our clothes. And that can present a serious risk. So, the cardigans obviously are safe because they're within the craft. But our legs will be dangling over the side of the raft.
The space raft, just into black space.
Yeah, because obviously we'll be kicking our legs. Because just for fun, we'll be kicking our legs backwards and forwards.
It would be hard not to. Yeah, true.
And if we catch ourselves on a pointy star, it'll snag and we'll get caught And then, you know, space spiders could come and eat us.
What? There's space spiders now?
I'm guessing. There are spiders on Earth. I'm assuming there'll be spiders in space. Stands to reason. So we'll row the rest of the way, right?
Uh-huh.
Once we land on the moon, okay? We'll kick that US flag over. It's fucking ours now, right? Get our corkscrews out. Technically drill. We'll say it's
with a corkscrew, with like a small handheld corkscrew.
Well,
the moon.
What else are we gonna bring, Jonathan? I think you're living in a bit of a weird fantasy land if you think we can get our hands on a giant drill,
How deep do you have to?
We're not
even shovels.
We don't have the resources.
How are we supposed to? How deep do you have to drill or corkscrew? I mean, to get to the milk, the moon milk that you want.
Unbelievable, Jonathan. Right? You know how you open a bottle of wine, right? You put the corkscrew in, you screw down into the cork, right? And then you pull it, and then you can get tasty old toad red wine. Okay?
Okay.
Same principle applies. You drill into the moon, right? Pull it, and then a bit of the moon will come out, and then we just turn the moon on its side and pour it into the... We'll each bring a glass with us, and we'll pour it into the glass, then we row back.
The whole trip was for a glass of moon milk.
2 glasses. We'll each have one. And then we give that to Africa. We say, suck down daddy's moon milk.
And then all their bones just grow strong forever. Because is it magical moon milk? What's the content of the milk? What's this milk like?
Astrocalcium. It's gonna. This is going to be a whole new business for us. We can say taglines like "Moon milk, you'd be a lunatic not to drink it."
And we just bring you a glass per trip to the moon from raft taken.
Think about it, right? Once we've got the proof of concept in our hands, once we've shown the nutritious properties of moon milk, full of vitamin C of tranquility, then investors will be like shoving cash up our arses. Ted Turner will literally bend you over and shove a $5 bill up your ass.
Why wouldn't he just give me the... but that's not a good way to give me money. You would... Once it's been up my ass, I don't want to touch it. It's very uncomfortable. It's mean.
Yeah, don't worry.
I'd rather him...
Again, I know that sounds like it doesn't make sense to you, but I've got a reason for that as well. Because I will have asked Ted Turner to do it. Okay? So that makes sense. Don't worry about that.
Okay, it's perfectly logical, yes.
Logical and legal. It's legal. It's a contract.
It's legal. It's within Ted Turner's rights to shove a $5 bill up my ass for investment in Daddy's moon milk, yes.
He'll shove $5 up your ass, then he'll give me a briefcase. Right.
Full of money.
Yeah. He'll give me 100 money, okay? And then with that 100 money, we invest in more fireworks and fish tanks. And then we've got a business. We could hire a staff. We could send 15 people a year up to the moon with a glass in their hands and an oar, bringing back moon milk, which we will package in, microwave udders and give to the people. Strong, healthy bones. Okay.
I'm sorry. It's the most detailed, terrible idea. And you know me. I have been working in the mental health field for 8 years. Not that long, but long enough to hear I have to go back into my mother's vagina to stop 9/11 from happening. The Klingons are fighting with the baseball players over the sperm of Tom Brady that they want to use to reincarnate John F. Kennedy in my womb. I've got a radio in my head telling me that Hitler is in the Underground Railroad, which is technically underground. They thought that Hitler had an underground railroad that he was using to turn everyone into secret Nazis. I've heard the worst of ideas, Jim. And this moon milk idea may be the very, in terms of detail and length, the very worst idea of all time.
Mm-hmm. I thought you might say that. I thought you might. So I got a backup plan.
Oh, you're accepting my criticism of the plan, or
hey, look, when have I never accepted your criticism, Jonathan Holmes?
This is true. This is true.
I've suggested many things. We become 18th century grave robbers. That you wheeze out of Uranus. I've come up with all sorts of fun ideas and projects for us to work on, and I've always taken on board everything you've said and made alterations.
I guess you have.
If the trip to the moon doesn't work, we get a tablespoon of green food colouring, put it in normal milk, and tell everyone we went to the moon. Because I imagine moon milk would be ever so slightly green.
Yeah, just a tablespoon.
Almost imperceptibly green. Just so that it's slightly off-white, so you know it comes from space.
That may very well be, yeah. Okay. That sounds like a harmless enough plan, and
I reckon moon milk would look a bit like cum.
It had to happen.
I could imagine that if you cracked the moon open, it would be full of cum.
There's no milk in there. It's a large rock. It's a large space rock.
That's what they said about coconuts. Oh, it's just a big hairy brown rock. And then you shook it. Hold on a minute. This sounds like it's got milk in it. Crack it open, lads. Lo and behold, then we got bounty bars.
That's true. If it weren't for the brave souls that were willing to shake that brown rock, that brown hairy rock. So you just see yourself as an innovator in milk.
Yeah. When Lord Coconut saw the coconut and said, I shall call this a coconut and it's got milk in, I bet, the other lords and gentry said, oh, listen to Lord Coconut, he thinks there's milk in coconuts, what a fucking dick. And then he went, my friends, I shall prove you wrong. And then he shook the coconut, and there was milk in, and all around were aghast.
Indeed. I'm deeply in thought about this for some reason. Like, I'm really picturing the frilly lace and the rosy cheek makeup and the curly-haired wigs of all the lords and ladies of Parliament around Lord Coconut.
Yep. Lord.
How much of that did you plan, that whole thing? And how much did you just start making up as you went along? Because you couldn't have remembered all of that. You couldn't have thought of that yesterday, did you?
Last night I suggested to Alex getting you on board to go to the moon and get milk, and then...
And the rest would you just freestyle?
As usual, I realised I needed more as I was talking. But I think I hammered out a pretty good plan. I think that's pretty solid, and I think that's foolproof, and I think Coco Obama's going to be for it.
It's true. I look forward to seeing that. And if not, that other plan is totally harmless. I will try to sell slightly puce. Is that green puce?
I don't know.
That blue, maybe. Yeah, I know. But Max Scoville's a master of those colors. He was talking about chartreuse and stuff like that. He was so tired and sick at PAX East. I felt really bad for him, but he worked really hard. Speaking of PAX East, can I tell you just quickly about the trends I saw there?
People want to know about PAX East, Jonathan.
I think they want to know. I mean, it's a little bit old news now. I'm not going to talk about too many specific games because if you wanted to look into that, you probably could. I wrote about Bit Trip Runner, They Kill Pixels, this new game called Hell Yeah. Do you know about Hell Yeah, Jim? That's a game that you should... I'll just talk about briefly.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for it. It looked really exciting.
It's very, very, very rare that a game gets made for these reasons. That's why I'm so interested in it. It's made by Arkido, a gentleman named Camille. I'm blanking on his last name all of a sudden. Very strange looking man, handsome man, but he wears glasses that look like the glasses that the guy who cuts off people's hands wears when he cuts off people's hands in the hand cutting off movies. Yeah, you can just picture a movie where a guy's like, I need you to cut off my hand and replace it with a gun. And then a guy comes in and is like, oh, we can do that for a price. That kind of character in the movies?
Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
He looks exactly like one of them. He's just inherently like charming, funny, but terrifying. And Arkido, by the way, made Big Bang Mini and some other games. They're good. He told me a secret story. He told me not to tell anyone, but since not enough people listen to Podtoid, I think I can get away with it. He made this game Hell Yeah because he was working for another publisher. I'm not going to say who, because that would be going a little too far. And he was really frustrated with the publisher. They were, dictating to him and screwing with him and not releasing the game and telling him to remake the game. And he was getting more and more just angry at himself, at his life, and the publisher in question, and had just this need to rebel against their controlling, angry ways. Not angry. They're controlling, dictating paternal ways, I should have said. And he was getting angry about it. That's what I meant to say. And he took all of that anger and finally let it loose in a game that he did not expect to sell one dime. And it's called Hell Yeah. It's just all of the thoughts he had when he was just completely pissed put into one game. And you'd think it would be like really mean-spirited, but it's just completely ridiculous. It's a game where you play a skeleton rabbit who's inside of a giant saw blade, and you go around in a Metroidvania-style exploration and item collection world, killing all the cute little monsters that he can find. He says it's like Pokemon, except you kill them instead of catch them. And in one part of the game, you can become a butt. And you have to become a butt in order to bounce on like this weird gas. And while you're a butt, you have a girlfriend who he said is also a butt, and she won't let you in her butt unless you're a butt too. And I was like, you mean in the butt like anal sex? He's like, yes, I do mean that. I'm like, okay, great. And what's this? And there's another part of the game where there's a weird like eyeballed, it's a man with a head that's an eyeball, and he's wearing a top hat, and he's next to a shower that's just showering blood. And he's like, oh, that's Madame Fontaine. Don't you have that in the United States? I'm like, no, I have no idea what that means. He's like, oh, that's when a woman has a very heavy flow, like a very naturally heavy flow.
Oh, my word.
Like, are you really saying that? You're saying those words. And the camera's rolling. This interview is probably going up tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, I've heard of that. He's like, when a woman has a heavy flow and you make love with her, the flow gives you life. So you drink of the flow. I'm like, do? That's what you do? He's like, yes, you do. And then I look at the game, and the little rabbit guy is drinking menstrual blood out of a shower in the video game called Hell Yeah. So, I've never seen anyone make a game under that pretense with that type of content before. We've seen Mad World, which was pretty shockingly just in your face, gross for gross sake. We've seen Manhunt. We've seen all sorts of games. But this, with like a cute, lovable cartoon exterior, has genuinely disgusting ideas that are fun and harmless. And he thinks it's only going to get an M rating at this rate. Who knows? And Sega is publishing it. What? Yeah. It's not even like an indie game, really. It's made by a small team, but it's got big publisher backing. So yeah, that's a game I was going to tell you about, and now I'll tell you about the trend in general. I saw a lot of games that were kind of taking the spirit of the 16-bit era and trying to max out on it. Kind of, 5 years ago or less, or 2009 or so, I guess it was only 3 years. It was a lot of like NES-type games with Mega Man 9 and that kind of retro. It seems like they've bumped it up to 16-bit style retro now, because just off the top of my head, that game, Hell Yeah, was like a Metroidvania with like 16-bit era gameplay mechanics. Bit Trip presents Runner 2, Future Legend of Rhythm Alien. Oh, there's no the on there anyway. The new Bit Trip game, or the new Runner game, I should say, is very much just like a 16-bit styled. Very much like a Sonic game, actually. I think Sonic fans are going to like that one a lot. Same kind of loop-de-loop, same kind of horizontal and vertical strolling, but trying to keep your speed going at all times, not hitting the obstacles. A game called Guacamelee It's another Metroid type game, except it's kind of like a Final Fight style beat 'em up, except with a link to the past, switching from light world to dark world aspect to it. Very much like a 16-bit type game. Really fun too. Great art style on that. Guacamole. I'd look for that. And it's so much like Metroid. You, instead of turning into a morph ball, though, you just transform into a chicken and like can crawl into little spaces and stuff like that. So they're totally open about the fact that it's a Metroid type game. There's even a Chozo statue in it. Super Time Force, totally just like a 16-bit shooter like Super Contra or Metal Gear. Metal Slug type era. Really fun game, really smart time rewind mechanic. Nothing like Prince of Persia or other games that would do it like Braid. Really original take on the time rewind mechanic, but very much like a 16-bit shooter. They kill pixels. Just the list goes on. Black Knight Sword was like a 16-bit game. It was like Ghouls and Ghosts. They Kill Pixels was like a 16-bit action platformer. So many.
Not all of them, I should point out, have 16-bit art styles.
No. It's not about art style.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Some of them do. Like, They Kill Pixels definitely does. And Super Time Force definitely does. But they all have references to, like, 16-bit era games and all think like a 16-bit era game. Whereas it's not as limited as 8-bit, where, a lot of it's just left to right scrolling or limited up and down scrolling. It's all over the map exploring. And a lot of different items, enemies, and stuff like that they couldn't have done before the 16-bit era. Things we take for granted now in terms of memory constraints, but, like Super Mario 3, they couldn't have added more enemies to that game because they just ran out of space. They, maxed out. So when they finally got to Super Mario World, they were excited about just the size of enemies and stuff like that they couldn't do before, and the amount of enemies and the size of environments. So yeah, man, I'm psyched. I love 16-bit era stuff, and all of those games were really fun and made by people who are around my age, who grew up with the 16-bit era being kind of like this amazing pinnacle that a lot of people say gaming hasn't quite reached ever again. People who say that Super Metroid and stuff are the best games ever. These are those types of people, and they're finally making video games, and they're really good. So check those out.
Yeah, I find it funny because I said this in the Fez review. When Fez was first announced in 2007, it got a lot of attention because it was before it became such a craze, like this retro indie platformer thing.
That's a good point.
I think if Fez had been announced last year or this year, I don't think it'd have gotten half the attention it got. I think in many ways it was kind of lucky to have been announced when it did. In other ways, sort of unlucky that it's coming out now, where it almost looks like just another face in the crowd.
That's true.
It's one of those games that once you get your hands on it, you get the sense that, okay, yeah, this is a really good game. But it's been weird to see, just because, that game's been in development for a very long time. And when it was announced, it was truly remarkable because it just wasn't so common. Whereas now, these puzzle platformers with a retro look, they're a dime a dozen, which is always the way, these trends never stay unique for long. Once they become trends. But I thought it was very interesting. It's sort of both lucky and unlucky that Fez has had the development history that it's had.
Yeah, indeed. And I second your point, Jim, to sound like a serious person. Why am I talking like that? The NES craze was huge, and it does look more like an NES game than anything else. But I get the sense it doesn't play as straightforward as an NES game. It seems like there's that kind of at least 16-bit era twist to it that makes it feel like it's more than just another flat retro game.
Yeah, well, the whole twisty 3D thing sort of, it takes the very sensibilities of an NES style game and then plays with it. So it's a game that wouldn't exist without NES style gameplay, but messes with it in such a way that it's its own thing. So
sure.
Yeah, I found that funny. I'm someone, I like old retro style indie platformer type things. I love platform games in general, and I'm glad that they're having a resurgence. I just hope that we don't end up with a huge backlash against them, because it's so hard to differentiate between a lot of them now. It's another indie puzzle platformer, and it's the pile. It's getting to the point where it's hard to differentiate. I always find it funny that indie development, in many ways, mimics big budget development. You know, indie retro platformers are about as common as first-person shooters with the big guys.
Sure. Well, everyone wants to succeed, and everyone has the same mentality of, whoa, what are other people doing that's working? I guess I'll do that. But from what I've seen at PAX anyway, people are on to the fact that you can't just put out another low-res, 8-bit looking game and call it a day. You need to do something else to differentiate it. Like Black Knight Sword, for instance, it plays just like... kind of like a cross between Strider and Ghosts and Goblins. It's very much like a 16-bit Capcom game, but it looks like a Japanese puppet show, and it's crazy. That game's gonna... I don't know how much people are paying attention to that one, but that's gonna turn some heads, I think.
I played a bit of it at PAX Prime. Somehow I don't think I ever got around to doing a preview of it.
I think someone else did, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get to the part where like the forest suddenly just turns into like a huge neon city, and this giant like swirling mouth eyeball disc table comes out, and then that turns out it's your shop? It like shoots a laser into your brain, and then you shop for new items that look just like magic cards. You get to that part?
No, I didn't. No, I think I played stuff right at the beginning, and I didn't get to spend too much time with it.
Yeah, it's something, all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've been recording for a little while.
Hour and 40 minutes.
I don't want to... We shouldn't... Oh, that's pretty good. We still have time for your Defoe pitch. Are you going to do that?
Nah, I think I'll keep that one on ice for next.
Really?
We've discussed a lot, so...
Yeah, you want to hit the questions then?
Keep the gentry guessing. Keep them keen.
Okay.
You know?
Sure.
It's really not good, so... I should point out, though, following on from last week's discussion, when I was pitching you dressing your penis up.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people... Yeah, MTV's exposed penises. A lot of people seem to think I genuinely believe Jim Henson was still alive. It was a joke. I know he's been dead for 20 years. I saw a documentary where it said he was. So
I didn't see that. I remember when he died, though. I was pretty sad about it.
I guess it was because it was such a throwaway comment where I just said, I guess he's still alive. I know he's not alive. It was a goof, an hilarious guffaw, and a chuckle, a little pop at the expense of the dead. I got an alarming amount of people giving me comments like, Jim Henson's been dead for a while. I know.
It's very nice of them to point it out and to do so with such politeness, and I can see why they'd be confused a little bit. But we have kind of a track record for saying stupid things and pretending we're serious on purpose, right? I mean, it's kind of a shtick. It's kind of a running gag we do, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I pretend they're jokes sometimes, and I really...
Sure, but you sound serious, which is what makes it funny. And to me, anyway, that's part of what makes it funny. So I just guessed that people, they might say, whoa, did you know Jim Henson was dead? I couldn't tell if you were joking or not. For them to be like, dude, Jim Henson's dead, do your research. Maybe I'm just being defensive.
Stop being a bad journalist.
Yeah, I know. Stop reporting that people are alive and they're dead. Do your fact check. Do you want to do those questions there, Jim? Do a question?
Yeah.
Yeah? That'll be fun. I played President Cat, finally.
President Cat?
Yeah, it's a game that Adam Dork, our mutual friend, sent me a long time ago, but I was always too afraid to play it. And Lynn's bot, the woman who did the animated intro to Sup Holmes, came over with some of her friends from Canada, and the lovely Sumit Sarkar was here staying at my house for PAX East. We all played a game called President Cat. You should all just play it. That's all I'm going to say about it because we're too far in. But yeah, just play President Cat. Or watch videos of it on YouTube. Just do it, please. That's all that I ask, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Jim.
You're alright. Turd Berglin Shodio Clown. That's his name.
Yeah. That's our old friend, yeah.
Yeah.
I know him.
He says, what anthropomorphic 90s video game action star most deserves a full-on modern-day reboot? And he's given us the options of Crash Bandicoot, Gex, or Bubsy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't like those games. The same way I'm burnt out on first-person shooters and like gritty real-time action. I really got burnt out on mascot platformers. I was not sad when they started to go away in the late 90s. Everything I'd say after Earthworm Jim, because I think he was after Sonic. Blasto, Buzzbee, Punky Skunk, Kicky Tricks, every once in a while there'd be one that was all right. Like Aereo the Acrobat was fine. It had some good sprite artwork, but it's just the soullessness of it. I don't want that to come.
It's weird because I was thinking about this today. I was just thinking about once upon a time, the hardest decision a video game developer ever had to make was which animal hasn't yet had white gloves stuck on it. Anteater.
Follow a formula, yeah.
Make the anteater walk on two legs and stick some white gloves on it. What shall its personality be like? 90s.
Have you seen Punky Skunk? It's a PS1 game.
Punky Skunk. I think that one's eluded me. I remember that one about that thing. There was an aardvark one, wasn't there? An armadillo.
There's an armadillo.
Sonic mask, like one of Sonic's friends.
They're coming back a little bit. Yeah.
Fucking Croc.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
The Secret of the Gobbos or whatever it was fucking called.
Oh no. I was just reading one of my old Game Fan magazines that it's like the amazing. I can't do it. You know what it said. Oh, even saying it made me feel so terrible. They talked up Croc like it was a visual masterpiece and technical excellence beyond anything anyone could imagine, and it literally just looks like a turd. It's just the ugliest looking garbage you've ever seen. Oh, Croc. Dylan's Rolling Western, though, which is an eShop game, 3DS eShop game, brings that theme of anthropomorphic mascots back, but it's actually a good game, and it's not just a cookie cutter platformer. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind animals just coming back as characters in good games, but I can't think of any after Earthworm Jim that I would want to see come back in any way. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a bitter old man. I can't tell.
Well, I'm going to throw in my vote for Zool.
the naked woman who's covered in soap suds and Ghostbusters?
No. Zool.
There's Oh wait, he's
the ninja from the Nth Dimension.
He's a ninja. He's wearing black. He's got like a weird 8, like a red 8, where his eyes are, and each circle in the 8 is where his eye might be. 1, 2 eyes there. Is that right, Zool?
He's the ninja from the Nth Dimension.
That doesn't sound good. Is it good?
It's fucking dreadful.
Was it like Kid Chameleon, where you can like get powers and none of them are fun to use?
It's just another platformer. But I always liked the character. When I was a kid, I always liked, hey, he looks so cool, he's got attitude.
I wouldn't mind if the characters from U4 came back, which was an old Sunsoft game. Kind of like Blaster Master, but without the overground parts. There's just a weird ghost wearing sunglasses who's smiling all the time, and a really stupid, like lost and confused looking lizard guy. There's some good characters. Yeah, I wouldn't mind Euphoria making
Booger Man.
No!
Bring back Booger Man.
No!
I remember the magazine commercials, which had a finger with a big line of snot, right? And it would run all the way to the end of the page. You'd turn the magazine page over, and the advert would continue with just this line of snot. And then, like, a couple of pages along, then you'd see Booger Man at the end with the snot trail going up into his nose. Booger Man.
I complain sometimes about how games are marketed and how it's, a Mountain Dew. You're going to be grown up now because you're playing a game where you're shooting other people world. But it's better than the 16-bit, get your parents all mad with slime and smells and farts. Gross. Every game, Earthbound was murdered in part by that type of advertising. They advertised like a sweet, smart, fun, patience-requiring turn-based RPG with, this game stinks. Your mom's not going to like the smell of belch when he hits the home. It's going to belch in your TV. No. I hate
Get
that.
a fucking game and buy a pregnancy test, you fucking bitch! Oh! That was the 90s in a nutshell. You're gonna wear a spliff jacket and go to Fat Willie's Surf Shack!
Oh, good times.
Tell your mom you like the smell of farts!
You really should get a job in
Buy these action figures! They're giant fucking dicks!
Oh, that would have blended right in. And then
This little plastic motherfucker is picking his nose! You've never seen anything more radical in your fucking lives! Watch this motherfucking cartoon! This guy fucking farts, and you see a fucking cloud come out of his ass, and then there are green wavy stink lines all up in this fucking shit!
There's one stomach in my imperceivable stomach muscles because it's covered in fat. There's one muscle that hurts really bad when I've laughed for this art. It's just it's the middle to the left. It's like the middle of the invisible six-pack hidden under the fat. Oh, that hurt. It's good. It's good. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Do you like plastic? Do you like vomit? We got plastic fucking vomit up in this fucking shit! Put it on the floor! Your stupid fucking mom's gonna think there's sick everywhere! And that's before she looks at the window and finds there's a fucking fake crack in the glass! I got a Ninja fucking Turtles tattoo, but it's alright! It washes off in the bath! You can be rebellious and safety conscious!
It was always the most harmless things like poop and green slime, but they acted like it was so radical and edgy and grown up to fart. Yeah.
Alright. Farting.
It's very mature. Yeah, it's very grown up.
Kid anymore.
I do because I'm from the Northeast. I don't know if you knew that. Northeastern United States. I think actually just Boston. They say wicked pissa. Give me that sandwich. Get in the car. Give me a sandwich. We'll take a wicked piss. And they say that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah. Sammy Yin says, do you guys feel that reviews of games that have been out longer than 6 months are invalid?
Invalid? What is invalid would mean that the opinion written in the review is not an opinion, I guess? No, I think that it's fine. I think it's better for everyone involved if you get it out a little sooner, so it'll get attention. So therefore, the person that wrote it will actually have someone read what they wrote, and it'll be more pertinent. Yeah.
I reviewed Metro 2033 over a year after it released.
I remember that. Yeah, the new one was announced, and people were talking about it, and you're like, "Hey, we never reviewed that. I guess we should." Well,
Anthony Birch had the review. And he didn't do a real review. He said, I'm not beating this game, it sucks and everything. And then I replayed it on the PC, and I'm like, I beat it, and I thought, this is great, I like this, I want to do a real review of it, since I played it and everything. So I did a full review. It was over a year late. I don't think it's invalid, because I've done it. We've done late reviews. We can't get everything done before it's out or on launch day. So, yeah, I think, a review is a review is a review. Just put it out if you want. There are no
I
rules.
think this is actually a good question for me to ask about the company that I've been working for 5 years. Do we don't go back and I'm going to review Punky Skunk or Zool all of a sudden. That's a little over the line if it's a game that's not even in stores anymore.
Yeah,
I didn't think we reviewed stuff like that.
I wouldn't say they're invalid. I mean, people can review them if they want, but at least at Destructoid, if you want to write about a game that bad, it's probably best to do a full feature on it if it's that old. And I just think that'll be better for the game and for what you want to say if you frame it as a retrospective feature rather than a relevant review.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That's what I thought the policy was. But hey, why not ask when you got your reviews boss on your podcast chatting?
Yeah. Semi wants to know what multiplayer game modes I'd like in Colonial Marines. I played just the normal deathmatch. That's pretty, it's pretty cool. I want to play as the Xenomorphs. But yeah, it's a fun little mode, but they promised a lot of different ones. I want one where you feel like you're fighting a full-on horde of aliens rather than 4 Marines versus 4 aliens, because that kind of takes away from the feeling that you're being surrounded by aliens on all sides. Maybe something a bit more like Left 4 Dead, where there are hordes of aliens controlled by the computer, and the players take on sort of special subbreeds of Xenomorphs. So you got one as the Crusher, one as the Lurker, or whatever sort of other species of Xenomorphs they've come up with. I'd like something like that, and maybe a series of objectives. Get from point A to point B and try and survive. Yeah, basically, I just want Left 4 Dead with aliens, even more than what they've promised. So I'd like that. But some Ian also has a question just specifically for yourself.
Wow,
Jonathan?
that's a lot of questions.
Yeah,
that's great.
If you could design a Zelda game, what would it be like or contain?
That's tough. It would not contain people telling you how to play the game, telling you where to go, how to Z-target, stuff like that, unless you wanted it. All the kind of built into you companions like Navi and whatnot, that would be optional now. There's never been a time when that should be required or has been required to get through a game. That stuff is always kind of an interruption that may not be wanted anymore. So they can still keep it for people who are new to the series, but they got to make that optional. They've got to get rid of the fantasy setting for a little bit. It's very old idea for Zelda to either go slightly modern or futuristic even, but people they take one look at it and they're like, oh, trees, oh, pig monster with a spear, oh, Zelda again. And because of that, people are overlooking a lot of the more recent Zelda games, which really do look different from each other and really do have very different worlds from each other. But on first glance, they're not selling that because they're sticking with the kind of fairy tale world there. So it's time to get rid of that. They were moving away from it with Spirit Tracks, where they had a train and stuff like that. They were starting to introduce technology, but they need to go full steam ahead with that, I think. And just off the top of my head, those are two things. Have it so no more anything but the boomerang. All the other weapons should be new at this point. We've done all the hook shot puzzles there could ever be, ever. And the hook shot's great, but the reason the hook shot is great is because it was really a new feeling when it came out. When Link to the Past came out, geez, they relied on the boomerang and the magic wand, and I think there's probably a couple more that I'm forgetting, but most of the weapons were new. They kept 2 or 3 from Zelda 1, and that was it. So that's what people want at this point with Zelda. It's been 25 years of the series. If you are a human being that's over 25, you've at least heard of it, and you've at least had the chance to play it. So you've had that experience if you want it. It's time to change it up. I just hope they don't get rid of the dungeon, the item, and the boss formulas, because I like all that stuff a lot. I think that's loose enough that you can play around with that framework and do a lot of new things. I'd hate for it to just be like a roaming around GTA type thing. That wouldn't work for me. It's still gonna have bosses, still gonna have dungeons, still gonna have items that you get to solve puzzles with. But other than that, they should just go nuts and do stuff they've never done before. I talked.
I can dig it.
Yep.
The Red Devil wants to know what your favourite game at PAX was.
Who, me?
Yeah, I don't think we actually mentioned what your top pick was.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. I didn't get to play as many games as I wanted because it really was... It was a grueling, sleepless, much more stressful than last year PAX for me for a variety of reasons I won't get into because they're boring. And it's hard to pick just one because there were so many great games. You know what? It's Theatrhythm.
Oh,
it's
nice
Final
choice.
Fantasy Theatrhythm, man. I know it doesn't make... It's not a design masterpiece in any way. Theatrhythm is a smart puzzle game because it's... a smart rhythm game because it takes stuff from Guitar Man, takes stuff from Elite Beat Agents, and adds a little bit of new stuff, so it feels like familiar yet new. But it's not mind-blowing. It's not like, whoa, how did they think of this? It's a simple idea that anyone could have thought of, but the execution is just so good. The music is just so good, and the feeling is so good, and the difficulty was just right. I actually have to edit that video as soon as we're done with this podcast. It's short and stupid. It's just basically me playing it going, oh, 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 oh. I'm just squeaking. And
I've wanted to hear you make those sounds
that.
for a very long time.
Yeah, Theatrhythm. I loved it. It's very good. But so many of the games were good. Lollipop Chainsaw is great. Super Time Force is great. Guacamelee seemed really promising. I didn't get to play Diabolic Pitch. That bummed me out. I couldn't find it. Weird. The Suda was there. 3 of his games were there, but he was only really there for the WB game. Lollipop Chainsaw. I didn't see him anywhere near his other 2 games because I think he was on the WB's dime. I think they just paid him to sit there by the bus.
Mm.
Ooh, anyway, yep, long answer. Sorry about that. Moving on.
No problem. I feel like you could do with hearing this one. Drake Himmel just wants to say Jonathan Holmes is one of the best game journalists to get coverage at conventions. In all his footage from PAX, he shows actual interest in everything the games have to offer and shows real courtesy to those he interviews. And he is really impressed with the work you've done.
Oh, wow. That's so nice. It was, like I was saying, it was a stressful PAX this year. I was tired. I haven't done an event in a little while, so I felt like I was a little out of practice. People have been really critical of the sound on my videos. My microphone broke. I bought a new one at the last minute, and the only one I could buy was like a cheap $30 one at Best Buy because I was already late for the show. So the sound is kind of off, and I'm just like, oh, this sucks. I feel bad for the people that they have to watch my videos. And some people have been rightfully critical of those problems with the videos this year. But I'm glad to hear that at least my effort to get into the show and enjoy myself on video, which I try to do every time, showed through for somebody. I did have a great time. That's Adorable video was so fun to make. I just want to make one of those every day. Did you see that one, Jim?
I did, yes. It was very fun.
It's so great when you do this job and you exaggerate how you really feel a little bit because it's more entertaining that way. But I really do feel that way. When I see a little woman dressed as Tony Stark and she's like, sup? I'm just like, you're the cutest thing on the... Oh my God! I love you. I want you to be my baby. Just live with me. Let me take care of you. I love all of you cosplayers. Just move in and let me feed you. I loved all of them a lot. They're great.
He also asked if we could get Keith Apicary to guest star on Podtoid, but I think my earlier comments answer that.
I thought of that. We could, but I don't think you want him to be on. I was thinking even just for like a half hour maybe. He gave me his business card and stuff.
Is he always like that?
He doesn't have to be, but he chooses to be because he, like us, I think, like you, when I do an exaggerated version of myself on talking to women about video games, I really do want you to believe that I'm like that or else it's not funny. And I really am like that, just not to that degree. And likewise, when you talk about shoving your bacon-shaped penis into my rectum, you'd shove a penis in my rectum probably. Maybe not right away. But if we were cuddling for a while and you got divorced and I was just like, just put it in my rectum, Jim. You'd probably be like, yeah, all right. So you're channeling. I shouldn't speak for you like that, but that's how I take it. Keith is that's not his real name. His real name's Nathan. He really wants people to believe that character is real, and he's committed to that. So I doubt he would do the show out of character if we were to ask him.
Yeah, you see, because I like people that commit to a character like that. I just don't like people that commit to a character like that. Which again is valid. It's his character. He wants to do it. It's just, it's not for me. I don't.
I think the character, to your credit, and also just for your information, I felt really threatened by him. I'll just be totally honest. People are saying, "Oh, your videos are like Keith Apicary except less funny," and then I watched them. This was maybe like 2010. Then I watched them, and I'm like, this guy is just kind of making geeks look like annoying jerks, and I don't like that. I was kind of put off by it. But he's changed his style a lot lately, where he's trying to make a guy who loves video games and talks with a lisp look like a complete badass, and his dance moves are incredible. I don't know if you saw his dance video, but it's just awesome to watch. I've become a really big fan of him over the past few months, because he's not just doing the, oh yeah, geeks are annoying joke. He's doing like, just because I look like a geek doesn't mean I can't kick ass like Janet Jackson stuff now. I prefer that. So yeah, maybe you'd like it more if you saw his new stuff.
Maybe. Maybe. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
We will never find out.
Oh yeah. Do you know about Shit Zombie?
Shit Zombie.
Yeah.
No.
His Twitter name is Joseph the Red. Right before Gabe from Penny Arcade started attacking me on Twitter, and right before Podtoid recorded, like 2 steps before that, a guy named Joseph the Red on Twitter, Joseph spelled Josef, you should follow him because he's funny, sent me a link just saying, this is especially for you. YouTube link, you have to be 18 or over to watch it, and it's called Shit Zombie. Everyone should just watch that. Just look up Shit Zombie. It's a Japanese horror movie by the creator of Robo Geisha, I think it is.
It's been on my watch list for ages.
I'll just tell you, beautiful women have really bad intestinal distress, and they go to an outhouse, and they take a huge dump, and then zombies come out of their poop, and then the zombies chase after them, and they're covered in poop, and the pretty girls are so sad about the poop they made that's a zombie, and then the zombie just like wants to pull down their pants and I think go back into their butt, so they're like perverts who kind of want to do, it's not quite sex though, but it's anal something. And there's a lot of exploding heads and butts. Shit Zombie, check it out.
Huh, okay. Seems okay. I've had people asking me to yell Space Marine in that dramatic voice of mine. I saw 2 comments.
More than one person is asking you to do that?
Well, more than 2 questions. It might be the same person. I don't know what that dramatic voice of mine is.
Every voice you do is pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
He'll have to clarify.
Oh, for next week then.
Yeah, that's next week, and clarify. So, there.
It was fun with Max Scoville. I've seen him grow and change. When I first met him, he had done like 3 videos for Destructoid, kind of on his own, and hadn't really gotten into this world yet. Now he's like a seasoned vet who's finally totally annoyed and bored with Space Marines. Like he was cackling at Space Marines at PAX. He's finally got jaded like me. It feels good. Yeah.
Let me see. It gets to a certain point in the question thread where it just devolves into Jim and Jonathan, I want to have sex with you, / I want to see you have sex, / is it pedophilia or not if we have sex, / sex.
We inspire people to get honest and very base in their emotional state. It's just as primitive as people get. They're just like, horny fuck shit. You shit fuck with me. Shit fuck for all night. I guess that's a part of what Podtoid offers. We don't pull any punches, and we'll be as guttural as we choose, I suppose.
You shit fuck for all night. Okay. John Apocalypse says, did any of us ever watch Transformers Beast Wars? I did.
I saw some of it.
The old their sort of posh, upper-class Megatron was awesome.
Oh, yeah, the voice acting was very good on that show. And the storyline, I could appreciate it, but I could not. I was a two-dimensional animation student, a hand-drawn animation student at that time. And part of my inspiration for getting into that was I loved the original Transformers movie, at least for the first half hour. I just thought that animation was incredible, and I wanted to do that. Then Beast Wars came out and was kind of like, sorry, you're going to have to learn how to sculpt a polygon. No hand drawing for you. And though I appreciated it as a story, I couldn't want to look at it. I was just too biased against it.
There was an episode where Starscream's ghost came back, and
I remember that.
Yeah,
and I loved all of that. Yeah, I loved that they did all that. The ideas were great, and if they ever hand draw that series, I'll want to watch it. But for now, I'm just kind of.
Waspinator got hit on the head once and thought he was my favourite Insecticon, who, despite being my favourite, I've forgotten his name. Shrapnel.
Oh,
he thought he was Shrapnel. Did the whole speech impediment where he repeats the last word of a sentence and everything. Such an obscure reference.
That's a great one. From the Transformers movie, which I've watched a million times. They were like, a little light on the electrons. Yeah, so good.
A little heavy on the electrons.
Heavy. Yeah, it's so good.
Lovely.
Thanks for that, Jim. You remembered it properly.
Sex. If Willem Dafoe had sex with a gaming company, what game would the child be? What kind of question is that?
That is a good question.
Diablos, what question is that?
I'm guessing the game would be... that's a really hard question. There's no game I can think of that even comes close to Willem Dafoeing as much as Willem Dafoe does. There's no game as wrinkly and smiley and then frowny and then like maybe gonna kill you and then maybe making you laugh, and I can't think of a game like that. What game makes you laugh and then is gonna just kill you?
I can't know. I can't think of anything.
No.
There is truly no game like Willem Dafoe. He must be honoured by that.
You talked about a really good survival horror game, Blood, I think it was. That's funny too.
Blood would come close.
Yeah, I think Deadly Premonition has some Willem Dafoe aspects to it.
Not quite that level of gleeful malevolence.
Yeah, that's so hard to find.
Willem Dafoe could play the main character of Blood. I would say Blood is the Willem Dafoe of video games.
That's as close as we've come so far. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's it, really.
Yeah, fair enough.
I've
got to go see how many of Penny Arcade's followers are picking apart every word I've ever said to prove that I'm the worst person on the planet.
Yeah, have fun with that.
Why do I... should I even... I'll respond to them. I'm going to do unto others as I would do me.
You know, as someone who's been in those situations, just breeze past it. Go about your normal business. Tweet about the hoagie you're eating. You know, there's nothing to be gained from addressing it. Yeah, just let it blow over. It's always a storm in a teacup.
Yeah, but let's say I was upset at someone on the internet, you know? Like, let's say I could write an email to Rick Santorum for saying that gay people who get married are like a man marrying a dog. And I could say, Rick, that was really a jerk thing you said, Rick. I would love for Rick Santorum to talk back and even say to me, like, oh, you misunderstood me. I didn't mean dog. I meant, you know, man's best friend. I just meant it was like they're best friends, just having sex. It's fine. You know, if he could clear it up and make himself not awful in my mind, I would love that. I wanted these people to not have that feeling that I'm awful, unless they just. Well, that's the thing. They enjoy it, don't they? They wouldn't jump on this bandwagon if they weren't getting instant gratification out of trying to beat up on a total stranger for a mistake they may or may not have made once. They like it. I don't know if you can deal with people like that.
There's just nothing. Anything you say will be taken and used as evidence against you. They'll just call every time you try and defend yourself, they'll call you an arsehole. They'll say you're being unprofessional. It's just, I've found the best thing to do is just agree with everything everyone says.
And then blow it over.
Yeah.
We'll see. Okay. Well, I'll take that advice, though. I will take a look, and if there are people on Twitter who want to know why I wrote a thing once that made a man mad, I'd be happy to discuss it with you in a reasonable, even-tempered manner. But if you just want to yell at me, I don't know if I have anything to respond. That'll be...
Really, there's not... I mean, they give you information you can do nothing with half the time. And that's... I've gotten very tired of it. I used to care. I used to get into arguments and fights. But unless someone wants to have an actual debate about something, I'm not interested now.
Yeah. Maybe the Penny Arcade guy, I gave him my email. Like, if you want to actually just talk about this without 160 credits or less, I'd be happy to explain. To his credit, the way the post originally read, because of that weird didn't typo, it said I didn't, he did. So it was just like a non-sentence that made no sense. I could see how he could see that was me trying to bend the truth. But it wasn't. I just screwed up a joke that didn't read because didn't work in most browsers. Our little cross-off tab there. I have to talk to Nero about that. So it's all right. I'm done. Sorry, Jim. I belabored. I'm feeling feelings. I got them out. I feel all right now, I guess.
Yeah.
Burrito.
I'm feeling feelings, and I got it out. Penis in your glistening hole, for the record.
For the record, to be specific.
Yeah, just having committed to tape.
You wouldn't want me to misunderstand you.
No. Let the record show penis up the arsehole. Please. At last.
What would be good about it's a poopy, tight, dry hole. It's a sticky, the asshole is not, that's not where you want, I don't know. I just don't want my penis in an asshole. I just don't want it. Sorry.
Tell you what, though.
Yeah.
Goes up there.
I've heard from a lot of people that it's actually much more fun to take it than to give it, because it is kind of a sticky stinker of a hole to put your Long Johnson in there. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. It's totally new to me.
Now that is an educational 90s cartoon. Was it Sticky Stinker and Long Johnson? It could be two pirates. I'm Sticky Stinker, and I'm Long Johnson. Today we're going to learn about apples. Sticking them.
Not anal sex? It's not a sex ed tape?
No.
They just happen to be...
We're here at the apple factory. How many apples can I fit up my arsehole?
And then I suppose Long Johnson would be sticking his penis into things like apples or whatnot. Sticky Stinker only puts things inside himself,
Yeah, exactly.
It's a great idea you had.
Well, hopefully Podtoid's cheered you up.
It has. I hate miscommunication and bad feelings, but it's a part of life. We didn't have any of that here. I always have you.
Never. Podtoid is always straight to the chase.
Yeah, absolutely. We're communicating for real, and there's no bad feelings either. It's all just do as you please. I told you about my aunt who's from the religious cult that my great-grandfather started, who was... my mom helped her escape and moved to England to marry my uncle, who sounds like Boris Karloff. Did I tell you about them?
That sounds like the best story ever.
It's a pretty good story. That's the abbreviated version. I went to go visit her mostly because... I'm sorry, we're trying to end the show. Real quick story. I like Pokemon, and there was a Pokemon named Deoxys that you could only get in England if you sent your Nintendo cartridge to Nintendo of Europe. They would put it on there. If you send your Pokemon cartridge, Game Boy Pokemon games. If you send it to Nintendo of Europe, they'd send it back with Deoxys on it. But you couldn't do it from the United States. So I wrote these letters pretending to be a little kid, saying, please put Deoxys on my thing, because I felt weird doing it as a grown-up. Then I sent it to my uncle in England, who sounds like Boris Karloff, and he sent it to Pokemon Company, to Nintendo, and then they sent it back, and then he sent me back the cartridge. Out of gratitude for him, I thought I should go visit him and show him a good time. And when I did,
my aunt, who's from the religious cult, would always say, "Oh, do as you please here, do as you please. No rules, no rules." But she's just like drinking tea and just like an old British woman who has no idea how to do anything rebellious. But to her, she was completely kicking ass like a punk rocker because she wasn't doing Christ's work anymore. "Oh, we're going to have tea and crumpets. No rules, no rules. You can go up the stairs, down the stairs, all you want. No rules." She's great. Her name's Ruthie. I love her a lot.
That's possibly the best thing I've ever heard you say.
Really? I'm so glad. I just never thought to talk about it before, but it just kind of came up in conversation. Auntie Ruthie, you're a class act. I like
On that absolute high note, possibly the high note of this series, I must bid you all adieu and close the show out. So, Sunday sees the grand return of Jonathan Holmes' live stream show stroke live podcast Sup Holmes. This week, maybe. There goes a lovely intro.
I annoyed Conrad, I think, and he might not want to do the show anymore.
Why is he annoyed?
He hasn't emailed me back in 2 days about it. I don't know.
Oh, no. He's been pretty busy.
See. Yeah, I'm sure he's just busy.
Well,
so, if
it goes through.
If it goes through, we will have Jasper Byrne, creator of, and feel free to join us on the show if you want, Jim, creator of Lone Survivor and a bunch of other good games that you know more about than me, Jim. He's excited to be on. We want to talk about his game and the design process and what it's like to try to make a game by yourself and what it's like to try to tackle survival horror in an indie game where making people afraid is so difficult, but he managed to do it without a team to back him up whatsoever. So yeah, hopefully we'll have him on the show, and if not, whenever Sup Holmes comes back, he'll be on. But at least look for Podtoid on Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to see if that live stream is running. And if you miss it, catch the rerun later, which is posted on Destructoid, and also the podcast, which is on Libsyn.com. Just look up Sup Holmes on Libsyn.com. We have 8 episodes up there already with the likes of Adam Saltzman from Cannonball, to the developers of the Bit Trip series, Gaijin Games, Tyrone Rodriguez from Nicholas. We've got our old friend Luke Bernard on there, creator of Eternity's Child and Mecha Wars. There's already a lot of podcasts on there you can listen to. So yeah, give it a shout. Tell me what you think.
Damn right.
Thanks. Yeah, I did it.
Hey, we did it, guys. I made this. That's what they said at the end of X-Files. At the
That's
end
true,
all the
yeah.
time. 90s. You can catch me on escapistmagazine.com doing my Jimquisition every Monday morning. This week's episode was about cutscenes and why I think they're still valid and not a failure, as some would say. Otherwise, we've always got our stuff on Destructoid.com, the pair of us. Check it out this week. If you're listening to this on the Wednesday, a review for Fez has gone live already. If you're listening to this Tuesday night, if you're an early subscriber, then it'll be there in the morning. So there's that. We've got reviews coming up this month for Risen 2. Legend of Grimrock, the review for that went up, and that was written by Patrick Hancock. Particularly interested in that game. I might have to buy that to check that out. As I say, a lot of high-ranking, sort of high-scoring games recently, which isn't our fault. We just like the games. Sue me. Don't actually do that. But, don't worry. As I say, the Spirit Camera review should be coming soon, and that will balance things out, because I don't like it. So,
I wonder how bad you're probably going to give that a 2, aren't you?
I don't know what I'm going to give it yet.
You've said not one positive word about that game.
There's no one positive thing in it.
I love the concept still.
I love the idea of looking at ghosts through a camera and scaring the shit out of myself. But you can't scare the shit out of yourself when you literally have to go outside in a sunny garden to play it.
That is so bad. It's funny. That is pretty funny.
We'll see. Maybe it'll pick up. I mean, I'd say about halfway through the campaign. I haven't been able to play it much because my only opportunity to do it is while it's sunny, and I have to run around the house as the sun moves, playing it by open windows. And I'm usually too busy working during the day, so when it comes time to play, it's too fucking, literally too dark to play it, and the 3DS camera isn't the greatest, so, the lighting in my house is just too soft. The only way to do it would be to turn on the really hot, dangerous work lamps that I use for the Jimquisition, and I'm not doing that. I'm not.
That's a different kind of survival horror. You just might
Yeah.
sweat and die. Yeah. I'm still going to buy the game, Jim. I know that probably infuriates you, but I have to have it. It's just so weird that it
I'm
exists.
never angered by the purchasing decisions other people make. I feel sorry for you. I'm not angry.
I'm not going to enjoy it, but I have to have it. It's just too much of an anomaly in our world.
Well, I mean, have fun. You might like it.
Thanks, Jim.
But in the meantime, all that remains is to say goodbye. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, as always. Feel free to review us on iTunes. That always helps. Not a bad one. And don't be like those people that give it 1 star out of 10 and say I'm only joking, because that is a 1-star review, which, doesn't look good. So, always 5 stars, always forever.
Why not? Why not? What harm does it do you?
Do what you want. No rules.
She's the best, man. You should go see her. I should go see her. Yikes, my aunt, I guess. But if you want to see her, just call her up because there's no rules.
I'll...
No rules. Go see the sheep walking by. There they go. No rules. They'll just be sheep. She'll be like, see how free they are. No rules here. Sheep everywhere. No rules. Yeah,
she sounds like an antagonist in a horror film.
She is and she isn't. She's a lovable.
Do what you want in this house forever.
There's something about her that's infectious. Me and my wife were saying no rules to each other in that voice for 5 years after we visited her. That was a long time ago. It was Game Boy Pokemon time. All right, I keep keeping the show going.
Yeah. You can go on Amazon.com and get our Android app if you want. It's $2. It just goes to your phone, and it just helps us out a bit. Probably, as I say, the money goes somewhere, and I'm assuming a good place.
It costs a lot to host the show, I'm told. Nero always told me, like, oh yeah, podcasts lose money, but yeah, we'll just do them. That's probably why we don't have like 50 podcasts, because he couldn't afford it. But.
No. So, we cost the company to spend 2 hours talking utter shit. Which is terrible. I don't know how we're still around. But
he lets us do it. Yeah, thank you, Nero.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening. And I guess we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.